So I was watching the Lightning broadcast last night, and who's the Engblom, the color guy?
Mm-hmm.
I got to admit, he was on Austin Matthews in the second period. He's like, I know the Lightning are dominating, but let me tell you, they got nothing for Austin Matthews tonight. He is their best player on the ice, blah, blah, blah. All right. And then when the third period started, he said, you're going to see a lot of 34. The tying goal was horrendous.
Mm-hmm. That the one that came short side? That the whole
yeah. You mean the wrister from just inside the blue line that he didn't see?
Yeah.
In which he was half the net was exposed 4 minutes ago, giving up a 55-foot wrister. Come on. 3 of their 5 goals were tip-ins. Did you see Matthews tip make it 4-3?
Oh, yeah. I watched every second of the game. I missed the first minute and a half of the third because I was watching the Heat. You know, it's kind of flipping between the 3 games. I missed the start of the second and the third by like 30 seconds. That's what I missed.
The Rangers were so dreadful, I kept watching the Lightning.
It only came on in between the periods of the Lightning Leafs game. And I really didn't pay that much attention to it, to be brutally honest. I mean, it was on in the background.
That's as weak an effort in a playoff game as I've seen from them in a while. The roster's better than the
Got to turn David down. Tell you that right now. I'm already hearing him cracking. No, you're fine. You're fine. I'd rather do it on this end, David.
No, I know. Morning, Ambien. Oh, yeah, and Aaron Rodgers got traded.
Whatever. Best part about that was the facial expressions on Around the Horn or whatever. That
NFL Live.
Come on.
Adam Schefter treating it as if it's Middle East peace. And there's an agreement in place between the Egyptians and the Israelis. They're going to swap land. And then based on certain things will happen next year.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. Final week of April. I don't know if I want this month to end. It's been so damn good. Of course, if you're a Lightning fan, you want it to end. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network. FloridaSportsNetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us on this Tuesday. Top of the morning to you, Mark. How are you?
I'm a little bummed this morning. A little bothered.
Why?
Because of what happened to the Lightning. That bothered me. I mean, I've told you, that's a team that I root for. And with the team that I've rooted for in hockey my whole life being terrible, I've adopted them as my main team right now. And when they were up 4-1, I'm like, damn it, here we go. We got a series.
Right?
It's going 7.
Yeah.
And then the third period happened.
Well, the first half of the third period was going fine. Toronto wasn't doing much. Lightning even killed off a penalty. Got this thing under control. And Austin Matthews said, you do know I'm a superstar. I'm going to show you what that looks like. And our buddy Vasilevsky is not playing like the best goalie in the world.
No, he is not.
In fact, he's not even playing like the best goalie in the series. That's a problem. That's a big problem. Tough to win with average goaltending. And the Lightning haven't had average goaltending, I don't know, in about 12 years. But they're getting it this week. And last, let me tell you, damn. And Mark, the Leafs are a different team.
Yes, they are.
If this was last year, the series would be 3-1, all right. It'd be Tampa 3 and Toronto 1 heading north of the border.
Felt as if in the last 10 minutes I watched the end of one great run by a franchise and the beginning of another starting. But it doesn't mean that Toronto, if they get through this, will get through the next round. But they certainly seem like a different hockey team.
Coming from 4-1 down with a little over 10 minutes to go, tying it, winning it in overtime. They mentioned a stat at the beginning of overtime on the Lightning broadcast. I don't know which broadcast you were watching, if you were watching the Lightning one or the national broadcast, but I watched the Lightning broadcast last night. They mentioned a stat at the beginning of overtime that the Lightning had lost 8 of their last 9 playoff games in overtime. And that the only win in that stretch was Game 6 against the Leafs last year. And so that means they have now lost 9 of their last 10 overtime games in the playoffs, and they've had the success that they've had. Wow. Damn. Also, I don't want to say the league's a little different, Mark. There were 2 overtime games last night, both goals on the power play in overtime. And no one disputing whether or not they were correct penalty calls either. It's like, no, those are penalties. They need to be called. So, and Mark, if last night is potentially the beginning of the end of this Lightning run, is last night the beginning of the end of this Milwaukee Bucks little 5-year journey they've put together? Made it to 3 conference finals, won an NBA championship, had a good little thing going here. They were up 14 in the 4th against Jimmy Butler and a Gus Macker team. What the heck? By the way, Felipe, do you even know what Gus Macker is?
Negative.
It's a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. It was big in the Midwest. I think it's still being played in pockets of this country, but it was big in like the 90s and 2000s.
See,
my guess is now Nike or somebody's taking it over, but it was called the Gus Macker.
Yeah, it still exists. Very small pockets.
Right. But I felt last night like Jimmy Butler was playing with a pickup team. And he took down the number 1 seed in the East, who had the best record in the NBA this year. This goes back to a legendary story. Jimmy Butler's with the Timberwolves, and he wants out. And Thibodeau loves him. He traded for him from Chicago. He desperately does not want to get rid of Jimmy Butler. He's willing to trade everybody else and keep Jimmy Butler. Butler wants out. Butler is overbearing behind the scenes. And Thibodeau tells him to stay away from practice. Butler shows up at practice and grabs the last 4 guys on the bench and plays the first team minus him and beats them like a drum in practice. And then basically says to Thibodeau, get rid of everybody else and keep me. And like 3 days later, he was traded.
best part about that pickup game is apparently he didn't even score once.
Well, he scored last night a lot.
Yes, he did.
A lot.
Yes, he did. He even decided to step back behind the arc and make one.
What the Jimmy? You can't shoot from there.
Like,
No,
when this is going like this is going, I can do whatever I want.
that's the old no. Nice shot. Get back, Mark. I am not kidding. Twice I stopped the game in the first quarter and rewound it to make sure that I was hearing what I was hearing, and then stopped the game again and looked up the box score to make sure it was right. At one point, it was Milwaukee 31, Miami 28. Jimmy Butler had 22 of the 28. I'm like, this is like a high school game where, the one team's got one guy.
Shot what? 9 for 10 in that first quarter?
Mark, didn't you think it was like, seriously, pick like one of the best 3 players that you saw growing up in high school. And he's playing with a bunch of stiffs and he's taking on the first place team in the district and he's holding his own.
A little bit of Antoine Gilbert with Detroit Southwestern. I know where you're coming from there.
There you go. Okay, I felt like I was watching Bobby Sura. Okay, back in Wilkes-Barre. Take his team all the way to the state final. It's like he's got nobody. Man.
And he didn't need anybody, really. 56.
In a playoff game. My favorite stat of last night. He scores 21 points in the fourth quarter. It's his second highest scoring quarter of the game. Damn.
And he dunked one on Giannis just for good measure.
Yeah.
Just to throw in everything else that you didn't see.
Take this with you, big fella.
Right.
By the way, I made load management game 5. I may just stay back and gear up for game 6. If you're Spo, I know you're not gonna, but how tempted do you have to be to go, whatever. We'll see you Friday in Miami. I mean, that's the game we got to win.
Didn't see that coming at all. I don't think anybody did, and certainly that performance by Jimmy Butler, historic. Most ever points scored in a Heat playoff game, making him even more of a legend with the Heat than he already was.
4th highest scoring performance ever in playoff history.
Michael, Elgin Baylor, Donovan Mitchell in the bubble, Jimmy Butler. MJ lost the game he scored 63. It was game 2 against the Celtics in 86. They lost in overtime.
I think Mitchell lost his game as well.
Don't know if Elgin Baylor, when he scored 61, if the Lakers won. But 56! I got your number 1 seed right here. Down 14 in the 4th.
Well, that's the other part of it. They were done.
Yes. He's got 35 points. They're losing by 14. I mean, come on. Robin Lopez with another big game. Giannis is having a triple-double. I mean, or Brooke Lopez, my bad. Got him confused. Lopez brothers. So Brooks having another monster game. And remember, the only game Milwaukee won in this series, Brooke Lopez had a monster game. Giannis is having a triple-double. They're up 14. All that playoff experience.
Yeah, but the one thing they haven't had any of in this series is defense.
No. No. Lowest scoring performance for the Heat so far in the playoffs, 119.
They averaged 109 in the regular season.
They're averaging $123 so far against the Bucks. 130, 122, 121, 119.
Jimmy Butler was guarding Giannis as well. Like down the stretch.
Might as well. I mean, you're wearing the cape. You might as well. Oh, man. I felt like between the Maple Leafs and Jimmy Butler, you know, when you're playing golf and all of a sudden you're like 3-4 up on somebody, and then they just with 6 to play. You know, you're 3-4 up with 6 to play. I mean, you basically, if you stay upright, you're going to win this match. And then somebody just starts going on a heater. Next thing you know, you're on the 17th tee. The match is all tied. You haven't made a bogey. Like, what the heck? Then he birdies 17 as well. You're like, am I one down?
Epic performance last night by Jimmy Butler. Epic.
And the Heat on the verge of what would be a monster upset.
You guys asked for it.
Yeah. And we thought if it was going to happen, it'd happen out west. Golden State is 6, the Lakers is 7. That, you know, if we were going to have the upset from a seed that we don't normally get it, we'd get it from teams that have been royalty out west.
Instead, it's the Heat on the verge of taking down the 1 seed in the playoffs. The Heat with an unbelievable performance last night. The starting 5, 25 minutes away. Great show lined up for you today right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah, hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Did you see what the East or what the SEC is talking about doing with storming the field?
Mm-hmm.
That's about the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life.
They had a graphic on SportsCenter that was interesting about the Leaves. They've lost their last 10 series clinching opportunity games.
Right. Because they haven't won a series now in
But
19 years. So, yes.
few game 6-7s and like,
Well,
man.
and a Leafs fan is going to say, hey, in the pandemic, in the bubble there, we were up 3-1 on a bad Montreal team. And they blew that series. And Montreal ended up going all the way to the finals. Probably the worst team since maybe the 82 Canucks to go to the finals. It was not a good team. But yeah, think about that. Well, last year, Felipe, they're up 3-2. They're in Tampa, losing overtime in game 6, and then lose game 7. Mongo, that show just gets better if you watch The Sopranos. Man, that was good television.
They're talking about taking away a home game, ambient heat.
And courts. Fields and courts. That the next time you're scheduled to play that school, that the home game will become a road game. Adam, I'm going to ask a very, I think, fair question. It may come off as snarky. If it's not your team, do you ever think anyone or anything is going to work? I think that's a fair question, Adam. After the, relationship that we have, the way it's blossomed over the last 18 months, I think that's a very fair question. Thank you, Spitz. Yes, it is implying that at times you can be negative. That yes, it is definitely implying that. Remember, this is coming from Miller and Moulton. This is something we know a little about. Getting negative.
30 seconds.
Ambient, it's all fun and games until someone loses an eye. Come on now. Did you hear that growing up?
Here we go.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
It's 21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. David Samson at the top of the hour. Pat Kirwan will join us. And heck, we even have a guest in our bonus hour. Second day in a row. I mean, don't get used to it. But, right now, Mark Dominik scheduled to join us in the bonus hour, and we may replay that for the rest of you along the network tomorrow. Yeah, that's, we're nice guys. I don't want to leave you out. Just saying.
I really want to root, and I'm going to root for an epic Maple Leaf collapse.
Wow, this is hard for you. I didn't realize you had this much angst for this franchise north of the border, all because they don't tip well. I mean, that's where this angst is coming. It's the only thing I've ever heard you say that's anti-Canadian. They're not good tippers.
I don't like the Leafs.
Is it a Detroit thing?
It goes way back to when the Red Wings, and I was at that impressionable age, 14, 15, 16, when the Wings started turning the corner, and their nemesis in the Norris division was the Leafs. They couldn't get through the Leafs. And that's where my hatred of the Toronto Maple Leafs started. And I didn't realize until late last night that it was in a deep spot, because there was no need for that hatred to come out because they'd done nothing to warrant it. And their epic comeback last night, and it was 4-1 down late to force overtime and take control of this series, really bothered me last night.
Wow. Affect your sleep and everything?
No, not much affects my sleep, David. Come on now.
All right. Well, I just wanted to know. I mean, how tough of a playoff loss was it? I mean, we got Lightning fans waking up right now going, yeah, affected my sleep. Oh, yeah. I'm not going to be in a good mood today. I'm going to need a nap, and I'm going to be at work and unable to get one. Mm-hmm. Hey, back to the NBA and the NHL in a bit. Starting five coming up in 15 minutes. Hey, Aaron Rodgers got traded. Is that your Mina Kimes impression?
Yeah, I was, which Orlovsky, whichever one you want to talk about on NFL Live, that acted as if they'd never heard that this trade was coming before.
I mean, Sunday, the word was out that the two sides were talking again. For those that didn't see the video, so the announcement was made at about 4:45 live on NFL Live, and Schefter was the one reading it off of his phone very dramatically. I mean, almost like he was talking into a bullhorn there. And it's just coming down now. This is live. I'll read it as I get it. Aaron Rodgers has been traded to the Jets.
And now we know who the Jets starting quarterback is going to be.
Thank you, Susan.
No problem.
That's a 17-year-old reference right there when Roger Clemens came out of retirement again, but that's how we roll, Miller and Moulton. So, yes, apparently it was shocking news, at least to the crew on NFL Live. I love the fact Laura Rutledge is very pregnant, and she was calm as could be. I would have thought Laura would have had a built-in excuse to overreact to the announcement. She was just like, yeah, okay, Rodgers finally got traded. What are the terms? And they were all, oh, wow. I can't believe it.
It actually happened. I didn't think it was going to happen. After they traded Aaron Rodgers to the Jets, something we knew that was going to happen for months now, and it finally happened.
Meanwhile, Rutledge jumps right in and goes, Adam, I think it's the 2024 compensation that is really good for Green Bay here. She just went right into breaking down the deal. The others were hyperventilating. They needed a Tarkanian towel to wipe their brow and then chew on. But, all right. They swapped first-round picks this year, so Green Bay moves up 2 spots from 15 to 13. And the Jets move back 2 spots. That's not insignificant, by the way. That could cost the Jets a tackle. I'm just saying, because there's a good chance that Green Bay at 13 takes an elite offensive lineman, and it wouldn't be out of the question if New England did as well. So that's not insignificant, the pick swap. We'll see what happens, but I'm just saying that could be noteworthy. In which all of a sudden you think we'll take one of these 2 tackles and both of them are gone by the time they get to you. And the Packers got one of the 2 second-rounders that the Jets had this year. I mean, come on, we all expected that, right? Right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So for whatever reason, the Packers and Jets flip-flopped picks. The Jets get a 5th-rounder this year, and the Packers get a 6th. Okay, whatever. Window dressing. The chart, they're adding up points here, and the Jets say we're a little short. We need a little something, something. Yeah, okay. How about we swap picks in the 5th and 6th round? Great, thanks. So really this comes down to, at least I believe, the compensation next year, which is a guaranteed second-round pick, which becomes a first-round pick if only one condition is met. Rodgers plays 65% of the snaps this year. That's it. Your thoughts?
I was surprised it wasn't tied to some sort of performance. Because to me, if Aaron Rodgers, obviously, if Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, the Packers get a first-round pick. At the end of this, I thought it would be tied more to Aaron Rodgers and the Jets' performance than snaps. Outside of that, I think this is a bit of a win-win trade.
Well, I think it's a win for the Packers. I really do, because that's a first-round pick. In all but like 1 or 2 years that Rodgers was a starter, he would meet that criteria. There was a season a few years ago in which he had his collarbone broken against the Vikings. But, I think otherwise Rodgers met that criteria in every season he's played. So you have to look at this. The reason why I think it's a win for the Packers is, in theory, Mark, Green Bay could have the Jets' first-round pick next year and Rodgers could be retired. I thought that was going to be the coup de grace that the Jets were like, listen, we'll give you a 3rd-round pick, period. We'll give you a 2nd-round pick if we make the playoffs, but we'll give you a 1st-round pick if he's on the roster. How about that? Because that would be my worry as the Jets. Hold on a second. You mean to tell me we got to give up our 1st-round pick this year and Rodgers decided to go back into the darkness and stay there? So,
and who knows when they met with Rodgers if Rodgers gave him some sort of verbal that he plans on playing 2 years.
I'm guessing he did. He has 2 years left on a contract. There's talk about he's going to renegotiate it. I have to admit, his cap hits for the next 2 years, and none of us understand this anymore, how a guy's going to get a $58 million bonus check by Labor Day, and yet somehow, some way, his cap hit this year is $16 million, and his cap hit next year is $32. I have no idea either. But I'm just telling you what accountants figured out. Charles Grodin and Dave, eating a sandwich with the mustard. That's what he told us the cap hit his. Miller and Moulton are going with it.
We're going with the starting 5. That's coming up next. David Samson, Pat Kirwan, Mark Dominik, all on the show today right here, Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Life Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlifetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. The Rays broke their streak last night.
No homer.
I kept watching the score. Got 8. Did they get one? No.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. David Samson to join us at the top of the hour. Pat Kirwan, top of the 8 o'clock hour. And for those of you who stay with us in the bonus hour, Mark Dominik, former Bucks general manager, to join us then. Right now, let's get to this great Monday night that was in the sports world. It is time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Aaron Rodgers is a New York Jet.
Sorry, that'll be the last one, I think.
Thank you, Dan Orlovsky. Eerie similarities to 15 years ago. Trade was in April instead of August, but otherwise, it is remarkable. Length of time that both Favre and Rodgers were in Green Bay. Traded of all places, both to the Jets. So the Jets and Packers do a pick swap in the first round. Green Bay moves up 2 spots to 13. Jets move down 2 spots to 15. Packers get one of the Jets' 2 second rounders. I believe they get the first of the 2 at 42. Jets had back-to-back picks. I believe Green Bay gets the first one. They flip a late draft pick in this year's draft. Jets move up to the 5th round. Packers move down to the 6th round. But the big one is a conditional pick next year, which will be no worse than a second rounder and will become a first rounder if Rodgers plays 65% of the snaps. And if he stays healthy, obviously he will. So it's likely a first-round pick in next year's draft going to Green Bay. Packers will absorb a $40 million dead cap hit this year. That in and of itself is basically 16% of the cap. Rodgers is going to get a $58 million bonus before week 1. He basically then will play the rest of the year for $1 million. I mean, he gets his check, and then after that, he's getting like $50,000 a week.
Poor guy.
I know. Did I mention the check's $58 million? I will say, though, it'll be administered in New York. A few more taxes taken out of it than in Wisconsin. Just saying. Rodgers, even though Joe Namath said, hey, man, you can wear number 12. I'm good with that. Rodgers is going to wear number 8, which is what he wore at Cal, which is interesting because he doesn't always acknowledge that he, is a proud Cal Bear. Sometimes he's had sometimes a little. Do you get the sense, Mark, that Rodgers at some point has had
he sometimes doesn't admit he has a mom and dad, so I'm not sure why the Cal thing surprises us.
I was going to say the relationships seem to be problematic for Aaron Rodgers. I'm just saying, all kinds, family, alma maters, girlfriends, whatever. NBA. Giannis had a triple-double. 26 points, 10 rebounds, 13 assists. Brook Lopez at 36 points. The Bucks were up 11 after 3, up 14 in the 4th. And Jimmy Butler said, yeah, I don't care about any of that. Butler, who had 35 points on the night going into the 4th quarter, said, I was just warming up. 21 in the 4th. Heat with a 12-0 run late to take the lead. Butler with a jumper with under 2 minutes to go to give him the lead for good. 56 for Jimmy Butler, 4th highest scoring playoff game in NBA history, behind Michael Jordan, Elgin Baylor, and Donovan Mitchell. Heat 119, Bucks 114. Miami up 3-1 in the best of 7, an 8 seed against a 1 seed. And they don't reseed in the NBA playoffs. Winner of this series plays the winner of Knicks Cavs. Now all of a sudden, Knicks and Heat fans start dreaming, going, wow, wait a minute. You mean to tell me no Milwaukee and a chance to go to the conference finals? Then you got the Sixers and the Celtics on the other side going, wait a minute. You mean to tell me no Milwaukee? Hot damn. Game 5's Wednesday in Milwaukee. Bucks are going to win by 30. It's all going to come down to Game 6 Friday night in Miami. That'll be it. Can the Heat close it out or not? Lakers, LeBron with a driving bucket with under a second to go to force overtime. And LA was down 7 with under 5 minutes to play. LeBron with the first 20-20 of his legendary career in the playoffs. 22 points, 20 rebounds. He's 38. Sometimes I do feel we need to point this out. Austin Reeves with 23. The Lakers controlled overtime, beat Memphis 117-111. They have a 3-1 lead in that series. Winner of this series plays the winner of Sacramento Golden State. De'Aaron Fox suddenly has got a broken finger on his shooting hand. And he's questionable and actually doubtful for Game 5.
I was going to say, I saw it as doubtful.
In a series that's tied at 2. Desmond Bane at 36 in a losing effort for Memphis. By the way, that Dylan Brooks guy, yeah, another monster game. He had 11. Yeah, hit 1 3. Didn't talk to the media afterwards again. Right. Well,
the media's made him out to be a villain.
According to him.
Right.
You mean he didn't make himself out to be the villain?
When he called LeBron old?
And when he said, I like to poke the bear?
And then he poked the bear right in the...
And I don't have any respect for the guy until he scores 40? Well, how about a 2020 night? Is that worth a little something? No?
You can't run to the microphone when you win and hide from it when you lose. Doesn't work that way.
Houston's going to hire the former Celtics coach, Udoka, who got fired for having the extramarital affair and apparently being not the greatest guy in the world. But he can coach. And DeJounte Murray suspended for tonight's Game 5, Atlanta and Boston, after he made contact with the official walking off the court in Game 4. Hawks, Celtics, T-Wolves, Nuggets, Clippers, Suns, all 3-1 series, home team with a chance to wrap them all up tonight. Hockey. Lightning at a 4-1 lead mid-third behind Alex Killorn's 2 goals. This game was over. Same old Leafs. And then it wasn't the same old Leafs. Austin Matthews with 2 quick goals made it 4-3. Morgan Riley with a wrister with 4 minutes to go. Awful goal. I know he's going to say he was screened, but he left half the net wide open. A wrister from the blue line. Come on. 4 minutes to go in a playoff game. That tied it at 4. Alexander Kufut with the deflection on the power play. 4 minutes into overtime. Leafs come from 4-1 down and win it 5-4 to take a 3-1 series lead. Game 5's Thursday. Is it the end of the era? Lightning fans may think of it as a dynasty, or is it just a knockout punch and we'll regroup? We shall see. Devils do it to the Rangers again. Shut them down, too. 3-1, series tied at 2, Game 5 Thursday. Vegas.
They brought this young goaltender in.
Yeah.
Giving up all the goals. He's given up 2 goals in the last 2.
Yep.
The rookie. Pretty impressive.
Yeah. Which, of course, brings back shades of Brodeur
right.
for those involved fans of this rivalry. Vegas with 2 goals in less than a minute in the second period. They held off Winnipeg 4-2. Golden Knights with a 3-1 series lead in that one. And after the road teams had won 11 straight playoff games, all 4 Saturday, all 4 Sunday, and the first 3 last night, Seattle, the Kraken, in overtime, Jordan Eberle on the power play, 3-2 over Colorado. Series tied at 2. Game 5 is Wednesday. Road teams are 20-12. 63% winning clip in the playoffs so far. Who cares about home ice? Although usually in game 7s it matters. The whole last change, that whole thing. Baseball. The Rays before 10,611. Are we giving them a pass because the Lightning were playing or no?
A slight pass. That's still a dismal number for a team that had yet to lose at home.
And they still have yet to lose at home. They're 14-0.
That streak's still going on while one went away yesterday.
The Rays, for the first time all season, did not hit a home run in a game. They beat Houston 8-3, mind you, scoring 4 in the third, and their bullpen with 4 scoreless innings. So they're 20-3 on the season. They're 14-0 at home, but the consecutive home run game streak ends at 22 to start the season. 20-3 are the Rays. The Braves were huge favorites against the Marlins last night. We did a little research. They had lost 4 in a row. And so Vegas kind of knew. Not only that, they had Spencer Strider going to the hill. Well, the Braves hit 5 homers, snapped the 4-game skid, and Strider took a no-hitter into the 8th. Braves 11-0 over the Marlins. Toronto with 4 in the 4th beat the White Sox 5-2. How about the Twins beating the Yankees this year? What in the wide world of sports is going on? Sonny Gray, former Yankee, 7 scoreless innings. Joey Gallo, former Yankee, 2-run homer, 6-1 Twins. That's 3 out of 5 this year.
Can't help you there, David.
Twins hadn't beaten the Yankees 3 times this decade, it seemed. Baltimore trailed Chris Sale and the Red Sox 4-0, came back to beat them both 5-4. Oakland hit 5 homers, beat the Angels 11-10 in extra innings for their 5th win of the year. They're 5-18, and yet they're only tied for the worst record in the majors with the Kansas City Royals, who lost to Arizona 5-4. That's right, 5-18, and you're tied. San Francisco's won 3 in a row. They shut out St. Louis 4-0. Detroit 4, Milwaukee 2. Reds with 2 in the 8th, 1 in the 9th, beat Texas 7-6. And Colorado had lost 11-12. Then they played the Guardians yesterday and beat them 6-0. Speaking of Colorado, you know, much was made of Dion in the spring game. What hasn't been largely talked about was that before the spring game, 15 guys in the 10 days leading up to the spring game had transferred. And yesterday, 18 more entered the transfer portal. And not everybody Dion wanted to leave, like both starting wide receivers, one who had like 180 yards in the spring game, a couple of guys who were defensive starters. Apparently, Dion only gave out 9 jerseys that had numbers on them. 2 of those guys are leaving. So 33 guys have left the Colorado Buffaloes program since April 15th.
I'll tell you, the free agency, I mean, the transfer portal at Colorado is something we've never seen the likes of in college sports.
And what I'm about to tell you is true. The SEC is seriously considering taking away home games if fans continue to storm the field/court. So like last year when Tennessee upset Alabama and the field was covered with Vols fans. It was an amazing scene. Amazing. Well, in the future, if that were to happen, apparently in 2024, when they're scheduled to play in Knoxville again, yeah, that game would get moved to Tuscaloosa.
Which would make it 3 consecutive years at one venue.
Correct.
I think this is one of the more asinine ideas for a rule I've ever heard in my life. I'm serious. This is stupid.
We'll talk more about it, but Mark, believe it or not, it's only the second most strident punishment that's actually been proposed. Somebody in the SEC offices has proposed forfeiting the games if the fans run out onto the court/field. So
Yeah,
congratulations, your team has won. And then when enough of you run out onto the field/court, well, I'm sorry, we have to announce that this game, Alabama has now won this game. Please drive home safely.
Anything to get Alabama another win is basically what this rule is.
And that's when all
in Kentucky in basketball.
that's when all the field stormings take place also. Take a look. Auburn's been fined 3 times. Yeah, it was the last 3 times to beat Alabama at home. Texas A&M got fined. Yeah, years ago. You know, Tennessee got fined. Yeah, they beat Alabama. I mean, come on now.
This is just asinine.
And it's 7 minutes before the hour. That was
The starting 5.
There you go. But for whatever reason, Sankey's serious about this. This is his thing. He is driving this bus. I mean, listen, we don't know if he's going to get his way with the NCAA tournament and expanding it to 90 plus. We fear that he will. But Mark, what has Greg Sankey not gotten that he's wanted within the confines of the SEC? David Samson is next.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I think David was at the Heat game last night.
He was. I was going to applaud him for being up this early.
Oh, he's got a pod in an hour.
Right.
He doesn't sleep. So, DC, the SEC claims it's a safety issue, not for the field, for the players, the officials, the fans.
Good morning, David.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Hear you perfectly fine.
Fantastic.
Well, I'll tell you, they maybe should have stayed in the Clevelander another couple of weeks.
Wow. It's something.
Nothing wrong with staying in the Clevelander, by the way, upstairs or down.
It's really nice new studios, actually.
Okay.
I would imagine
and
so.
I'm staying in the same in the hotel where the studio is, so I get to do this for my room and then take the elevator down and do nothing personal, and then do their show from 9 to 1.
Well,
so that's my schedule for the next 3 weeks.
Oh, so you're going to do the show every day?
Yeah. I'm
4 hours?
I'm doing a fill-in host. I did it yesterday and for the 3 straight weeks. Trying to negotiate 2 straight weeks. I'll let you know how that goes. It's a lot of content, as you guys know, since you do it. I have such respect for what you do. It's a lot of content.
It is. To me, the most difficult thing is fully understanding that the audience changes so frequently and that, you can get bored. Like whatever it is we talk about now, in theory, a half hour later, we should revisit some of it because the audience has changed so much in those 30 minutes. But it's tough for me as a host to talk about something I just talked about.
Yeah. They do basically 3.5 hours of podcast content that's also live on YouTube. So we try to do a thread that can last throughout the day.
Right.
While doing different things. There's different guests. It's a heavy load, but not that you don't know. You do guests upon guests. I can't believe what you guys do. So impressive.
Well, but then
I'm
again,
tired.
But then again, what they do is also challenging also because they do a non-sports show.
Yeah. But I'm having fun. It's fun.
Right.
We have fun.
Yep, no doubt.
There's a lot going on today. I don't know where you guys are going, but go wherever you want.
Well, hell, we're going to go where you were last night to start.
That's a good place to start.
10 seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And David Samson, he of the Daily at 8 a.m. live, Nothing Personal with David Samson podcast. Also, he does the Sporting Class weekly with John Skipper. It's a sports business podcast. And for the next 2 to 3 weeks, he'll be co-hosting the Dan Lebitard Show. Yet he still finds 10, 12 minutes for us on Tuesdays. Follow David on Twitter at David, the letter P. Samson, David P. Samson. Listen, a lot to get to. Can we just start with the fact you're in Miami? You were at that epic performance last night. You grew up a New York sports fan. Obviously, we all know about your 15 years president of the Marlins for the World Series, the whole deal. You have seen firsthand a lot of great sports moments. How about that one?
That was maybe the best non-regular season, non-finals game I've ever been to. And the intensity of it, I missed the deafening roar. A couple of things happened if we're going to get deep into it. I had not really been to a game since 2017 of any kind. And so once I left baseball, I just sort of walked away from professional sports. There was some hurt. There was some, move on to the next chapter type of thing. But the Lebitard Show films from Miami right across the street from the AAA, which is now called something else. And I said to Pablo Torre, we have to go to this game, right? It's across the street. And so we bought tickets and went. We went with two other people, Juju Gotti and another guy from Le Batard. And it was an experience that I can't soon forget because, A, it was like going home. I'd gone to a lot of Heat games when I lived here, and I saw a lot of people who I had not seen in very many years. B, I was witnessing what it was like for a fan base to be so riled up in a playoff atmosphere. I'd forgotten what a high that was, and I found that it brought me back to running a team. And I was looking around the stadium, and I was looking at concession lines, and I was thinking about ingress and egress and looking at all the sponsors, and I was looking at things going on behind the scenes with the players and the coaching staff and the referees, and I was just thinking about all of the things that used to happen during the course of a game when I was both hosting or when I was on the road. And it was a flood of emotions and memories, but we saw a virtuoso performance by Jimmy Butler. And putting a number 8 seed on the brink, a number 1 seed on the brink used to be a real thing. It doesn't happen very often. The series isn't over yet, but the NBA has to be happy with the playoffs right now.
All right, I'm just curious, when you're watching the egress and you're watching the concession lines, was there a point last night, it's been a while since you've been at a game, that all that went away and you became a fan because you were witnessing greatness? And for all of us, it's hard sometimes. You know, we've sat in press boxes where you're not supposed to have emotion and you're not supposed to get into it and you're supposed to just be numb to greatness. Last night you witnessed greatness. Did you become a fan again?
I didn't, and I want to tell you why. It's such a great question. I used to have to pretend that I was rooting for the Heat because I wanted everyone in Miami to believe that I thought that all ships would rise with the tide, so I'd want the Heat and the Dolphins and the Panthers to do well. But secretly in our President's Club of Panthers and Dolphins and Heat and Marlins, we didn't really root for each other to do well. I rooted for the Heat season to end as quickly as possible because that means more focus could be on the Marlins. Then on top of that, the layer is I've been a Knicks fan my whole life. So I'm talking about a rabid Knicks fan during those great Knick Bulls and Knick Heat era of the 90s, 80s and 90s and 2000s. So no, it was hard for me to root for the Heat, and I'm from Milwaukee, so I really was rooting for Milwaukee. But what ended up happening over the course of the game is I got into the game without the emotion of a side. So I got swept up in the excitement of the game. So there were moments there, Mark, that I could feel the possibility of once again being a fan, but then my foot would step and catch up. And that would be the end. And I'd go right back to, why isn't there someone cleaning this up?
One final thing before we move on. Have you ever seen a better individual performance in person? And I guess, you know, you've probably witnessed a no-hitter or a perfect game and what have you, but I'm just curious. I mean, you know, the 4th highest scoring playoff game ever, he literally single-handedly took a team and made an inferior team and won a game. I mean, it's a legendary performance.
It is. I saw Jordan's double nickel game, his first game back as a Bull after his forced retirement for a couple of years when the Knicks had a chance to win a title, but Hakeem the Dream got them both. So Jordan's double nickel game, Game 7, the John Starks game in the finals, and Game 6 of the 94 finals was a legendary performance. So I've seen a few, but what Jimmy Butler did is he did take the team on its back. However, he was making shots, but the Bucks just fell apart. They stopped running their offense. They stopped hitting shots. They had that lead. They were up 10, 12, 14 the whole game, and they just couldn't finish it. And that's champions finish. And they did not look like a championship team because you can't lose a game like that, give up 41 points in the 4th quarter.
And we've been talking about it for a while. They finished the season not playing very good defense. They've not played very good defense in this series, and now Miami has a 3-1 lead. One of the other big things yesterday, Aaron Rodgers finally traded. You've been involved in so many big trades. This one, there's more pressure on the New York side. The Packers did what they did. They got rid of the guy, Jordan Love and all that. But from New York's standpoint, when you make a trade like this, it's an all-or-nothing trade that if it doesn't work, this can be regime-changing.
So we think about that sometimes when we're making what we consider to be large trades. The problem is inside the offices of the Jets, Woody Johnson has acknowledged to their GM, he has to have unless he's delusional, that Woody Johnson and Aaron Rodgers combined to take any leverage that the GM could have had to make a reasonable deal to acquire Aaron Rodgers. So while owners will sometimes do this, they shouldn't in this case, Woody shouldn't blame the Jets regime if this trade doesn't go well, because I'm not sure this regime would have made this trade the way it was made or done it the way it was done, because on its face, what the Packers did was an absolute one-sided get. They didn't want Rodgers. Rodgers didn't want them. The Jets could have made Rodgers stay in Green Bay. But the Jets were so lathered up, their fan base was so lathered up that they were getting Aaron Rodgers, they had no choice. And the Packers knew the Jets had to make the deal before the draft started. So everyone knew this was the last minute. This is like getting a stadium deal in Tampa or Oakland. It's not going to happen till the last possible second. I actually didn't think it would happen yesterday. I thought it would happen today, because today's closer to the last second before the NFL draft happens. I think it was a one-sided trade, which we all knew it would be, because there was zero leverage, zero for the Jets.
See, we thought the Jets had some leverage up until Friday, up until those second-round picks were on the clock. Because clearly, I mean, Green Bay wanted one of them. So we thought the Jets could hold out this week. But actually, once Saturday came, we thought the Packers had all the leverage. But the deal went down, and we'll see how it works out. You mentioned Oakland. There are some who believe that this deal with Vegas is not going to come to fruition, that all this is a land purchase deal. The financing has not been arranged at all. I mean, it's only $1.5 billion. What could go wrong? Your thoughts, you've been through this. Okay, it looked like it wasn't going to happen in Miami for the longest time until it barely did at the last minute. Okay, do you think the A's are on the move?
I have said no, and I'm sticking to no. And I think that this week gave me pause, because it made me think I was crazy, because everyone was telling me the A's have moved to Vegas. And I kept saying, you're wrong. That's not at all what happened. The announcement was made that there was land bought for the possibility of a stadium with no financing plan put in place, with no vote by the state legislature or the city legislature in Las Vegas. They're equally as not ready to build in Vegas as they're not ready to build in Oakland. And then I saw Rob Manfred do several things that he did for us in Miami before we got our deal done. He said how important it would be for Miami to have a stadium in Miami, but they've tried. They've tried under three owners, Rob Manfred got to say, under Wayne Huizenga, John Henry, and Jeffrey Loria, and now they're going to have to move. I watched Bud Selig do that. Then I watched Rob Manfred and Bob Dupay step into meetings and say, hey, there's no deal here. You're going to lose your team. And meanwhile, I saw them tell other municipalities, hey, you're going to get a team. So the playbook is being played exactly as it was played with the Marlins, and that resulted in a stadium in Miami. Keep in mind, baseball doesn't want the A's to move to Vegas. Owners do not want the A's to move to Vegas. They want Vegas open as an expansion city. And if you take away Vegas as an expansion city, and you know you've got to expand west and east, then all of a sudden Portland is saying, I like my chances. Therefore, I'm not going to step up with what I would necessarily need to step up with from a financing standpoint, from a public financing standpoint, because there wouldn't be as much competition. So it is very important for Oakland, in my opinion, to keep its team. And in the alternative, if they're going to move to Vegas, look for Oakland to all of a sudden step up and be an expansion possible city, because then you have some competition for Portland for another West Coast team.
Just since you brought up expansion on the East Coast, why is it Nashville's okay? Why are the Braves okay with Nashville and not okay with Charlotte? It's about the same damn drive.
Yeah, so I'm not convinced that what you're saying is right. I think that there are compensation packages that need to be discussed. And much like when the Nationals got the Expos, Washington got the Expos, there was compensation for the Orioles that's turned into a 10-year legal battle over rights fees. There is something to be said that you don't want to weaken another team in the name of expansion. That's why you looked and saw that Oakland couldn't move to San Jose, because the San Francisco Giants would be threatened. Tampa can't move to the Boston, New York area because the Red Sox, Yankees would be threatened, and you don't want to make strong less strong. The Braves are a hugely strong team, a hugely important team in revenue sharing, and there will have to be a lot of thought given as to where that East Coast expansion team goes.
Do you have any doubt that baseball is going to get to 32 by the end of the decade?
Zero. It's a guarantee. Book it. It's a wait to see that I've never done on Nothing Personal, but I should. You're giving me a 7-year window. By then, the Rays will have taken care of their situation. The A's will. The Diamondbacks, there'll be a whole flood of new stadiums, believe it or not, by the end of this decade. But there will be 32 teams, geographical realignment, 16-team leagues, if there's even leagues at all, by the end of this decade.
Very quickly, got about a minute. Your thoughts on the 20-3 Rays?
I've been searching. I'm searching for weakness. And that's what we would do with our competitors. We try to find where can we get them, what game, when they come in for a series, which game can we get? And there's not one starting pitcher where the other team says, oh, we got him today. Looking at their lineup, where do we see the hole in the lineup to make sure they don't beat us? Don't see a hole in their lineup. They're disciplined. They're strong. They're healthy. And when I mean healthy, I'm talking about the way they play on the field. This team is for real. We knew they'd be good, so I expect them to compete for the division, but it's not over yet.
He's David Samson. His daily podcast at 8 a.m. live Monday through Friday is Nothing Personal with David Samson. He also hosts the Sporting Class with John Skipper. It's a sport business podcast. And for the next 2 to 3 weeks, he'll be co-hosting the Dan Lebitard Show. Follow him on Twitter at David P. Samson. David, thanks for your time this morning. You're going to have long days. Good luck.
Always. I love these 12 minutes. Have a great day.
David Samson, kind enough to join us once again here on Miller and Moulton. We'll react to some of what David said. Also, I'll put Mark on the spot. Next, Miller and Moulton.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. So I was having some fun yesterday because there was 3 drafts that are today. The 2009 draft, the 2013 draft, and the 2019 draft were all today. Outside of punters, Stafford's the only player from that draft class that's still playing.
In 2009?
Yeah.
Well, think about it.
I know, but you just start going through of
right.
I was going through some of the Dolphins picks and the Bucks picks from those drafts.
Brian, I don't think they can extend it much longer. I'll be curious if there's anything they can do this offseason to make themselves a little bit better for next year. To me, what's evident in this series is their defense isn't strong enough. The Leafs scored 3 goals on tip-ins in which guys were basically unchecked in front. That would not have happened the last 3 years. Ryan McDonough would not have let that happen. Hedman would not have had to play all the minutes that he had to play, so he would have been on the ice for a couple of those goals. I mean, that to me, they're just not strong enough on the back line, and Vasilevsky's not playing like an elite goalie right now. And yet they're still this close to being up 3-1. So it's a fine line.
Problem is the East is not going to get anything but better next year. Now, Boston won't be as good because it's just impossible to have that type of a year again, but they're not going to be 40 points worse.
The Rangers aren't going anywhere. The Devils aren't going anywhere.
You could argue the Devils will be better.
Yes. The Panthers, in theory, should be better.
Carolina's not going anywhere.
Right. I don't know if they'll be better, but they're not going anywhere.
They're not going anywhere.
Right. Buffalo will be better.
Going to be better.
Ottawa will be better. You know, I don't know if the Islanders will be better. In fact, if I had to bet right now, I don't think the Islanders make the playoffs next year. You know, Tampa could be hard pressed to make the playoffs next year. I know RCB, but there's a fine line in the playoffs. And when you start losing the games that you used to win, their goalie's not playing like an elite goalie right now. Is that just a bad week? Or is he slipping? And come on, you know they're not as good defensively as they have been. They were the second best home team in the league. They just lost 2 home games. We're taking the first week of July, right?
Yes. What are we doing? Are we just telling them to run programming? Are we running best of? What do we do?
I guess we'll have to ask the boss.
My suggestion would be to let the Michigan guy do it for a week and run a best of on the 4th.
30 seconds.
Works for me. Empire, they only finished like 2, 3, 4 points ahead of the Panthers this year. Okay. I do think they'll have one more run in them next year.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
"21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kirwan, top of the hour. Many things NFL. Pat's also got his NHL playoff hat on. He's raring to go. Heck, he's got his minor league hockey playoff hat on in and around the draft, which is a little over 48 hours away. I want to get back to something for a few minutes that we talked about late last hour. This SEC thought process, which is apparently going to become a proposal because the commissioner wants it, in which he doesn't want court stormings and field stormings anymore. Greg Sankey feels that it's unsafe for the players, for the fans, for the officials.
Does he feel it? Does he care about the fans? The players and officials part of it, I'm not sure that he cares about the safety of the fans. I think he's worried about the safety of players. There have been some incidents when players have hit fans, and that's the look. To me, that's what he's trying to avoid. But go on.
No, well, my answer would be he cares about them so that they don't sue him. So that's why he's like, well, if I keep him in the stands, I'm not going to get sued. Right? That's the only part of the safety of the fans that I think he cares about. Agreed. But do you think that that is a legitimate issue?
No.
Okay.
How many, David, you do most Alabama games because you work for the SEC and CBS, at least for another year here, and they predominantly carry Alabama football games.
Well, we do 5 or 6 of them every year.
You're damn right you do. So you've seen
Mm-hmm.
the majority of the field storming incidents that have happened in the SEC in the last decade.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, how many have you missed?
Well, apparently A&M stormed the field last year when they beat LSU, which shows you how rough things went last year.
What a year.
Exactly.
What a year it was for A&M.
Mm-hmm.
So you've missed a couple of the field stormings in the last decade. And I'm not even being flippant here. I'm being serious.
Yeah, that's about it. Right. There's only 4 schools, I think, who have not had a field/court storming. I thought I read that yesterday. So you do not think when Greg Sankey says that, because there was an incident with an Alabama football player and a female fan in which the player mistakenly thought she did something to him, and when in fact it was someone else running by, and an ugly incident nearly happened. It was beginning to happen, and it got stopped. All right. You don't think that that's legitimate because he's saying that A, it is, trust me, and B, there's not an amount of money we can find them that will stop the behavior. So now I want everybody to know when they show up at the basketball arena or football stadium, you run out onto the field, you're going to cost your team either a home game next time they play, or I'm even considering forfeiture, which I don't think will ever get passed for this reason. Fan bases will strategically court storm and field storm to try to get the forfeit. Like, Alabama travels really well. Alabama could lose and have Alabama fans run onto the field.
I don't think the forfeiture will ever happen.
I don't either.
I do think the forfeiture of a game could possibly. I think he's serious with that. Now, look it. These don't happen very often.
No, they don't.
And I would say 75% of the time, maybe even 90% of the time, you know it's coming. The game's not in the balance. It's not the kick 6, if you know what I'm saying. But in the instance when it happens in the moment, and excitement, because when you know what's going to happen, you know what the PA announcement's going to be like. A reminder, if fans storm the field, the University of Tennessee could lose their next home game to Alabama. Please remain in your seats and do not storm the field. And that's all you'll hear for the final 7.5 minutes of the fourth quarter.
Now, I will say, having been in Knoxville this last October, when Tennessee finally beat Alabama, and they hadn't beaten them since, I think, 2006. And as dramatic as that game was, nearly losing on a last-second kick and then winning on the last-second kick, I think, Mark, even if the rule was in place, they would have stormed the field. I really do. That's just sometimes the emotion is so unbridled. I just think that they would have said, don't know what to tell you. Yep. So I guess we got to play 3 in a row in Tuscaloosa, but damn it, we beat Alabama. We're legit. We're undefeated. We're top 5, and we are smoking these cigars.
And it happened in the moment.
Yes.
And as you just said, the emotion took over, and I think they would have still stormed the field in that instance.
But
I hate this rule.
Well, it's not official yet, but as we
I hate the idea of this rule.
Greg Sankey wants it So the rest of the people in the conference would have to say no to the commissioner. How often does that happen? So the thought is this is going to get passed. If you storm the court/field, now see, and I know we got to get to the Clutch Vodka play of the day. The court storming to me is very different from the field. Bad things can actually happen on the field. Court storming, they figured it out now where they cordon off the one sideline where the players and coaches are so they can do their handshake line and they can get them off the court. And everybody can just kind of congregate in the middle 75% of the court and jump up and down and what have you. And you can still have the handshake line and the court storming. Now, you can't do that in football. It's just too big. There's not enough security.
All I can come up with is SEC stands for Stop Entering Court. That's as best as I can do, David.
But
you're right. Sankey will get his way.
Yeah. So I don't know if it'll go into effect for this year, but soon, if you're going to storm the court or storm the field, you're going to cost your team a home game. The next scheduled meeting between those two teams will now take place on the road.
Time now for our Clutch Vodka play of the day, as if anybody had any idea what this is going to be. Go ahead, Felipe. What Jimmy Butler highlight are you going to give us?
Well, it was a clutch night of sports. You know, LeBron had that game-tying layup in the final seconds to send it to overtime. A few OT winners in the NHL, but come on now. This is the Florida Sports Network, and we must celebrate Florida's Michael Jordan.
Shot clock at 9. Middleton with Butler driving right into it. Count it, foul! It's loose! The lead! Jimmy Butler! 46 points for Jimmy Butler. Sets up on 3. Why not? Butler! Long shot! Good! Lost the ball, it's loose. Miami's gonna win it! Miami has won it! And goes up 3 games to 1.
56 points, 9 rebounds. He made 19 shots on 68% shooting. He only had 1 turnover. Heat win, 3-1 series lead. I saw a meme last night where it was like a Wilt Chamberlain box line. And I thought I was going to say Jimmy Butler tonight. It said Kevin Harlan tonight. 56 bomb and a Kevin Harlan masterpiece. Oh, what a night.
4th highest scoring performance in NBA playoff history. And I know everybody rolls their eyes when Felipe goes Jordan. That really was Jordan-esque. I mean, it was just one night, but that really was Jordan-esque, ladies and gentlemen. It really was. You got to give it up for Jimmy Butler.
And that's our Clutch Vodka play of the day. That's Clutch with the K. Visit them online, clutchspirits.com, and look for Clutch Vodka anywhere that you buy your spirits.
Now, Jimmy will be hobbled and will, score 13 points in game 5, and the Heat are going to lose by 30. Where Michael would come back and score 35 in game 5. And the Bulls would probably close the series out. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN play of the day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the play of the day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah, hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Life Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlifetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Got early lines for FSU, Miami, and FSU, Florida.
What were they?
Against Miami, FSU minus 17.5.
Wow.
Against the Gators, FSU minus 10.5.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour. Pat Kirwan will join us at the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. If you're just waking up, another remarkable sports night. Been a hell of a month. And this month followed the madness, and, well, you know the drill. So Aaron Rodgers gets traded to the Jets finally. That's Mark's NFL Live invitation from yesterday, in which the trade broke during the ESPN show. And Laura Rutledge apparently took it in stride, but Mina Kimes and Schefter and Orlovsky and Spears there, they Mark, how did that go again? Apparently it was a shock to them.
Stunning revelation that he was traded. And to the Jets of all teams, we didn't see that coming. What the hell?
They pick swap in the first round this year. That's just 2 spots, moving up from 15 to 13 is Green Bay. They get one of the 2 Jets second-round picks. I believe they get the first one. Jets had back-to-back picks at 42 and 43, I believe. They got 42. And they get a conditional pick next year. It'll be at worst a second-rounder, and it'll be a first-rounder if Rodgers plays 65% of the snaps. I'm surprised that the condition wasn't more in the Jets' favor. At the very least, that he not retire after 1 year.
I gotcha. I just thought it would. I thought, to me, that pick would have been more a condition on what the Jets did, not on number of snaps. That's where I think the Packers, if they got one over on the Jets, it's the 65% of snaps, because, as you pointed out earlier, David, that's happened one time in Aaron Rodgers' career that he's not played 65% of the snaps.
Right. Since he took over in 2008 as the starter, he had the 1 year where he got his collarbone broken by Anthony Barr of the Vikings, and he missed over half the season. And that was like 4 or so years ago. Jimmy Butler with 56, single-handedly carrying the Heat to a come-from-behind 119-114 win over Milwaukee. Miami up 3-1 in this series. So the Heat and the Knicks are both up 3-1. The NBA doesn't reseed. You could have the Heat and the Knicks on one side and the Celtics and the Sixers on the other in the East. LeBron with a 2020 night. He'd never done that in the playoffs before. Think about that for a minute. LeBron's been around 20 years. He's done a few things in the postseason. He had never had 20 points and 20 rebounds in a game before. He did so last night at 38 years of age. We know there's a lot of you who have grown tired of LeBron and his politics have turned you off and the whole deal. And listen, Jordan was better. I get it. But you got to give it up for this dude. Come on now.
And it wasn't in a blowout. There are games in which sometimes you could argue that stats get padded. This was an overtime game. Every one of those points, every one of those rebounds was needed.
In fact, he scored the tying bucket with less than a second to go to send it to overtime. Lakers were down 7 late, forced OT, dominated the OT. They're up 3-1 on Memphis. Winner to face the winner of Sacramento Golden State. But, Mark, I wanted to ask you, and it was asked of us in our Twitch chat room, Miller and Moulton show, Miller and Moulton channel on twitch.tv. Check it out if you haven't. You get to see the radio show. And it was asked of us, is this great lightning run over? Or is this just going to be a pothole? And they're going to bounce back next year. Lightning blew a 4-1 mid-third period lead, lost in overtime to the Leafs 5-4. They're down 3-1. And yes, Toronto hasn't won a playoff series in 19 years, and they're 0-10 in their last games in which they've had a chance to clinch. But this does appear to be a different Leafs team. And 3-1's a big-time deficit. And so if, in fact, Mark, the Lightning go out here in 5 or 6, is this the end of their epic run? To quickly review, 2019, they win the President's Trophy with an historic regular season. Got swept in the first round, but they were magnificent. I think in 2018, they lost in the conference final. In 2020, they win the Cup. In 2021, they win the Cup. In 2022, they lose in the finals.
David, and I was trying to find it during the break and I couldn't, but the Lightning had a bad second half. They were an average team the second half of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was that they just didn't care about the regular season? They've been there, done that, and it didn't matter? Or are we starting to see a team that maybe with what's left in the last couple of years, you're starting to see the number of games take their toll on their great players? And while Point is still young and still a star, everybody has to look at Kucherov and Stamkos and know that the end is closer than now even the middle.
And same with Hedman and Vasilevsky, even though all 4 players we're mentioning are Hall of Famers.
And I watched Sidney Crosby have a great year, but they didn't make the playoffs.
Right.
And when your best players are your older players and you put that much money in a hard cap league, it's very difficult to continue. I've never wanted to be more wrong than what I'm saying right now. But I don't see how the Lightning come back in this series. And I don't see how the Tampa Bay Lightning next year are an elite team in the league with what I'm watching, particularly in the Eastern Conference. The Rangers aren't going anywhere. The Devils are going to get better. Boston's not going anywhere, although they'll drop off because they just had the season that they've had. Toronto's not going anywhere. Buffalo's getting better. Florida's not going anywhere. I thought I watched the end of an era last night in the third period, in the second half of the third period. I really thought I was watching the changing of the guard.
I think there's a chance for them next year. But I do think that the window closed significantly last night. I thought it was telling. You know, the areas where they keep losing a little bit of depth every year because of the hard cap, and they've had to make some very difficult decisions. And the decisions they made after losing in the finals last year, the first one they made right away, and we pointed this out, they let go of their second best defenseman, Ryan McDonough. And 3 of the 5 goals that the Lightning gave up last night were Leafs players in the front of the net who were basically alone, deflecting shots past Vasilevsky. Those guys would not have been standing there alone if Ryan McDonough were still on the team. If Cernak even out hurt with the concussion, okay, if he were available. It just seems as if between injuries and, well, life in the hard cap sport that is the NHL, that it is taking its toll, and the edge that the Lightning were always ahead of, now they're falling behind. I do think, Mark, it will help them getting a long off season. These guys have played a staggering amount of hockey in the last 3 years. Remember, they won that cup in the pandemic. They won it in the late summer and damn near early fall. And then a month later, we're right back on the damn horse, winning another cup. And then 2 months later, we're right back on the damn horse going to the finals. I know they play a lot of golf as it is, but they could use a vacation.
There's no doubt. And it's difficult in this sport when you put so much money into your star players that when they start to slip, to be able, in a hard cap, to be able to make up for that. And as David pointed out, we're talking about Hall of Famers. We're not just talking about good players. We're talking about best players who are Hall of Fame players that unfortunately are on the backside of their career.
And yet, even with everything that happened last night, the puck is on Stammer's stick in the high slot alone. a minute and a half into overtime. It's him and the goalie, and he hits him right in the noggin. He goes top corner and can't quite get it there and hits the goalie right in the mask. In the last 3 years, does he bury that? Probably. And the Lightning get out of there with a 5-4 win, and they go, whew, nearly blew that one. And then the series shifts to Toronto, and all the pressure is still on the Leafs. And the Lightning are going, well, we had 10 bad minutes. Otherwise, we've played pretty damn well these last 2 games. Cooper will keep saying, yeah, we're playing well. I like our team, like our game. We keep playing like this. Good things are going to keep happening.
The other side is there's a team that's not played as well that's finding ways to win seemingly every night.
Which they haven't done in 30 years. The Leafs have not found ways to win playoff games since Pat Quinn was their coach and Doug Gilmour was their best player and Felix Potvin was their goalie in the early 90s. But they've done it the last 3 days in Tampa, and it could change a franchise. But how much is it going to change the other one?
21,000's the text line. Your thoughts on last night's Lightning game, on Jimmy Butler's epic performance, on the Aaron Rodgers trade. 21000. If you've never texted the show before, you need to text in the keyword FSN Radio, all one word.
Mark, it's difficult for me to write off the Lightning if they go away Thursday night because we've seen it too many times in hockey. I mean, Carey Price had one great run left in him, and he's hardly played since. I mean, literally in the last 2 years. I mean, Carey Price took a bad Canadians team to the finals, and he's played like 1 games in 2 years, and he's basically retiring. But we've all seen it before, and there's too many great players on this Lightning team where a year from now, if they sneak into the playoffs, which I think they will struggle just to get in the playoffs next year. I could be wrong. I mean, I thought the Bruins were going to take a step back this year. But, if the Lightning snuck in as an 8 seed, with Vasilevsky and Hedman and Stamkos and Kucherov and Point. I mean, really? Seriously? Like, you really want to still play these guys? Sid's 35. Did you see Crosby play this year? He's one of the 10 best players in the league.
Yeah, but you know what? When it came to the end of the season, Carolina and Boston were going, ooh, Pittsburgh, get in.
Yeah.
We'd much rather play you than we'd rather play than the Florida Panthers or the New York Islanders. That's just a fact.
Now, do I think that they will ever be talked about, that this core will be talked about as the upper echelon again? No, I do not. I do not. If they go away in 5, I think now they will drop down in amongst the rest of the playoff teams.
Now, Toronto, I will tell you this. You want to get this done in 5.
Yes, you do.
Because you don't want to give this team any life. They get game 5 from you and come back home. They outplayed you for 2 games at home and managed to not win either of them.
And the other thing is Boston's going to finish it in 5. So you might as well have the same amount of rest basically as the team you're going to face in the next round.
But right now, I'm just hoping some way that Tampa can get this sucker back here for a game 6. Tough to see. And I know they're the heart of the champion, all those, throw the cliches on top of the cliches. They blew a 4-1 third period lead. That's tough to come back from.
And Vasilevsky's getting outplayed. That hasn't happened in 4 years. Is that just a bad, week? Does he need a vacation? Or is he no longer going to be one of the 3 best goalies in the league? It looks like we're going to find out the answers to these questions next spring because they're down 3-1. Meanwhile, the Rays may lose 3 more games between now and next spring. They're 14-0 at home, 20-3 on the season. They beat the Astros last night, although they didn't homer. So that streak ends, having homered in every game this year, the first 22. And just think, Mark, they still, if they go 15-2 in their next 17, they'll tie your Tigers.
I know. That's what 20-3. They've got to go 15-2 to get to where the 84 Tigers were. Absolutely amazing. We think Pat Kirwan's pretty amazing. He comes up next right here. Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for listening on the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
You had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill, the Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone on 5th Avenue in Naples.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Hey, Pat.
Good morning, fellas. How are you?
Doing great. You?
Good. I try to get on early enough to listen to the hockey conversations. The more you talked about the end of an era with Tampa, two things were in my mind. First off, I was following the Islanders way back when. They were great, and we shared a lot of facilities together with those guys, so I used to see them all the time. But when it comes to an end, you try to stretch it out all the time. I think the modern GMs are going to say, let's just trade off some of the big-name guys that can still play a little bit and send them to some club that needs a figurehead leader.
Problem is the guys for the Lightning you're trading, their numbers are all going in the rafters.
Yeah.
That makes it a little more difficult.
Well, the other thing, Pat, there's no one has any cap room in the NHL because the cap's gone up $3 million in 4 years. That's it.
Oh, yeah. Well,
so nobody has any
NFL.
money and all right. And all these guys, in theory, the Lightning would trade to retool and what have you. They're all making $8 to $9 million a year.
Yeah, well, that's too bad. But that happened to the NFL when we didn't have any cap growth. everyone got in a lot of trouble.
Right.
Same thing. Hard cap. The owners are never giving up a hard cap. Plus, you don't have enough TV money to have
Totally
a loose soft cap and all that crap. Anyway, I always like listening to you guys talk about hockey. It always relates to football for me somehow. But I remember when Podvan and those guys, they almost all of them lived in Huntington where I lived. And most of them still live there. They stayed on Long Island. Started
How could they
businesses.
not? They were superheroes.
They were. You know, it's a weird place though, Mark, and it's a suburban hockey team. So nobody, like the Rangers, no one took the train. Everyone went home from work and got in their car and went there. And then when the games were over, they spread out from Queens to Montauk. So you never really saw your guys unless you lived in Huntington where I lived, because those guys liked all the bars in Huntington and that's where they were. But really, no one really saw those guys. I used to see them around. And then when they were still injured and beat up, they'd come and rehab at our place. It is a different sport.
5 straight finals. They won 19 consecutive playoff series.
I went to most of them.
playoff series. That is unfreaking believable. And I know a couple of those series, you know, even think 1980, the first round might have been best of 3. But, you know, I know early series were best of 5, but still.
Well, I was thinking of it when you were talking about how little time off Tampa Bay got in between all those series at COVID and everything else. Man, as I said, we shared doctors and they used our rehab stuff a lot. And I used to see them after those series, after this cup game where like beat to death, those guys. Well, no, it was quite a run. Al Arbor, what a good guy he was.
Yep.
Do you know Jiggs McDonald, longtime voice of the Islanders, lives on the west coast of Florida? Don't know if he's a 239 guy. I think he's just north of it.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that.
But Jiggs has listened to our show many times over the years.
There you go. There's a guest to have on. History.
We've had him on a couple times.
Yeah. As soon as this draft is over, I try to shift to the flavor of history, because the older listeners, that's their bailiwick. That's what they want to talk about. And they love comparing this to that.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And thrilled that you're with us for the third and final hour of Miller and Moulton along the network anyway, in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, and Venice. We're just halfway home in the 239, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. You know the day and time means it's Pat Kirwan time. He of NFL Radio's moving the chains. He'll be live in Kansas City Thursday and Friday doing the draft along with his radio show. And he's part of CBS's NFL Today show. Pat joining us once again, courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, a dozen locations in between Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Top of the morning to you. How are you?
I'm doing fine, fellas. Good to hear your voices. And yeah, getting ready for, this is my yearly Jerry Lewis telethon. 4 hours of radio, 5 hours of draft. There's 9. And you wake up on Friday, 4 hours of radio, 5 hours of draft, 9 more. And then Saturday, I'll be leaving before we get to the 7th round. That's great when I have a flight. The only flight I can catch leaves someone else for the 7th round.
How did you pull that off? That's what I want to know. I mean, there's a lot of football to talk about, but the draft and Pat Kirwan is a tradition unlike any other. How did you get out of this?
Well, I got a boss who's got a budget, and does he want to leave me in a hotel again? He looks at the cost of the hotel room and he decides, yes, you will be on the early flight. And after I've done every draft in the history of Sirius Radio, every one of them and the whole thing. So I think after 20 years, you're allowed to get out early once. I don't know. Do you ever let David out early?
Never.
Yeah. Well, I know he lets you out early once in a while to hit the little white ball.
He has to allow
I gave
me to
you a
make
chance, Mark, but you wouldn't take it.
I was going to say he's being very generous here because he's allowed me to leave a handful of times to make a flight, just
well,
like you.
there
That's
it is.
usually what gets you off of your radio show a little bit early. Well, during your radio show yesterday, you got to love the breaking news about midway through the show. Not surprising news, just breaking. Rodgers traded to the Jets. Your thoughts on what ultimately both teams settled on?
Well, I always thought they were going to swap first-round picks. I'm going to get into that in a second. And we always thought, at least I did, they were going to give up one. They had 2 seconds. There was no way they were going to be able to defend both of those. So the swap of the first-round pick. So what does it really mean? They really gave away a total. If you look at the point charts, which I do every day, because there's still a pointing up of reference. It's still a talking point when you're negotiating. It turns out that they gave away a second-round pick. A decent second-round pick. Now, remember, when they were 13 and go to 15, that's a subtraction. That's a different point total. So when you look at that whole thing, what do you see? You see 13, 15 is a 100-point swing. That's no big deal. 42 is a 480. So now, and then 207.7. I that's pretty funny, that one. A cherry on top of the ice cream sundae. So it turns out to be a second-round pick, which is reasonable because there was a contract to get rid of. And so it's fine. And I don't think any of us expected they'd give more. And then the flexi one, which is for 2024, he's going to be on a nice football team. He's going to have a chance to kind of feel young again, going back to his college number and all that. I would not surprise me if he plays 2 years.
Were you surprised by the back end compensation being on percentage of snaps and not on, success of the Jets? Were you surprised because basically, unless he gets hurt, that's a first-round pick.
Correct. And he doesn't get hurt. He hasn't missed a game in 5 years. We've gone through all this stuff before. He's a survivor. He knows. Look, the guy's brilliant. He doesn't throw interceptions. He takes sacks. He doesn't care if it's 2nd and 15. He's not going to throw an interception. So go look at his ratio of interceptions. The guy's fantastic in that area. So, and the Jets will get used to it because he's going to let you take a knee if he has to live to fight the next play. And so they're getting a guy that's going to show up every week. And so they're going to look, if he comes back in 2024, it's because he had a good time and they made the playoffs. If they're not, and he sees them as a 9 or 10 win team, he'll just retire. But I think they're going to win enough for them to be a wild card.
Well, and you took me to where I wanted to go. So now that they have more than a competent quarterback, I mean, let's be honest. He won back-to-back MVPs in 20 and 21. I mean, last year he clearly was injured and played through it. He's clearly a top 8 quarterback, even as he turns 40 this year. So you put a top 20%er, if you will, quarterback on this Jets team. How good are they?
Well, they were the number 4 defense last year. And you think about that. He hasn't played with a defense that good in a while, maybe ever. So he's going to play with those guys. And they are not only number 4 overall, but they're number 3 against the pass. And the one thing you can presume is that people are going to throw the ball more against the Jets now because they're going to score more points and they're going to have leads. Although, and David, I know you probably already did it. Go look at the quarterbacks the Jets defense faces this year. I think there's 9 elite quarterbacks in there. I think almost every one of them's in there. Mahomes is in there, Allen twice. You can go right down the list. So Justin Herbert, et cetera, even Russell Wilson's in there. So they're going to play a lot of guys, but people will throw the ball more. And I think the Jets rush the passer and play good pass defense. So he's going to have a chance to be on a team that is going to support him. And if they get Bryce back and he's 100% as a runner, they'll be fine. So I like them a lot. But, the Jet fans yesterday went crazy because, like you said, we all thought it was happening, but until it did happen. And the 30-year Jet fan was so cynical. He'll screw it up. He's never coming. They got into all that nonsense. But yesterday they were out of their minds excited. So now, the Packer fans call, and they're like trying to talk themselves into take it easy, good riddance. You lost playoff games for us. Well, I went back and watched the 2 playoff games that they love to cite, and that's just not true. And the last two losses, the one to Tampa Bay, it was the defense couldn't stop those guys. Rodgers throws for 346 yards and 3 touchdowns. It wasn't his fault. And then the last one was special teams. They block a punt. I think it was a punt for a field goal, and Crosby misses a field goal, and they lose 13-10. So the Packer fans want to call in and tell you, "Oh, I'm so glad he's gone." I said, "Well, you make sure you call back on Thanksgiving and tell me how your team's doing." They won't call.
They won't call. They just felt used. And I get it. The fan had no play in this, and the quarterback didn't. And I get their emotion, but you're right. Come Thanksgiving, they will have wished that they still had Aaron Rodgers. All right, let's get to the draft. With C.J. Stroud now dropping like a stone, how far could he drop in your estimation, Pat?
I don't think he's going to drop that far. I think this is the favorite. Keep talking negative so he falls. And someone like Tennessee would love to see that slide. I don't think it's going to happen. It's all about a test score. We've talked about it before. One GM, I told you this the other day. I went and saw another one. I said, you know what he told me? He told me, if you're worried about the test score, watch the Georgia game. And that game tells you that the guy's a big-time player. So I don't think he's going to fall that far. Now, would Seattle take him if he came to 5? They might. They know Geno's deal is not a long-term deal, and they don't need to put him on the field right away. And Pete's always intrigued by big-time athletes. So I don't think he's fallen that far. I think the worst that could happen is Tennessee, but I don't think he's going that far.
What do you think the Raiders are going to do? I mean, they force Carr
Screw it
out.
up.
Well, I mean, that's kind of where I was getting to. So they force Carr out, but they replace him with Garoppolo. Are they then really going to draft a quarterback at 7? That's not the type of move you make as an organization. If you were like, listen, we're going to take quarterback in this draft, then you probably don't spend the money that you're spending on Garoppolo. So it leads me to believe, whether they should or not, that they're not going to take quarterback at 7, that to be competitive this year, they need help on defense.
Yeah, they do. It's an interesting. Well, the first answer is how much pressure is on the coach. If he's got pressure and all of a sudden Mark Davis is starting to really wonder what he did, then they won't take a quarterback. He's going to take a now player and on defense. Does Jalen Carter fall to them? I doubt it. You know, they're counting on a couple things here. Do they move up to Arizona's spot? I doubt they'll do that. So by the time they go, Anderson will be gone, Tyree Wilson will be gone, and probably Jalen Carter is going to be gone. So then start asking yourself, because right after that's going to be a run on offensive linemen. And if they take Luke Van Ness, the fans are going to go crazy. So I think they got to move up to get what they want. Now, maybe Seattle, if they really wanted a quarterback, would fall down a few spots. But I think they're going to be looking probably at a second-tier defensive player, David.
What are you thinking for number of trades in the first round that we still have left? I mean, obviously, there's already been one at the top. How many more trades are we going to get?
Well, people like to trade now because they have certain players, and all these draft boards are different, Mark. And now they have cap space to do it. They used to look. People always the young GMs. They're the traders. No, they have cap space. They have dollars. We had a series of years in there when we were talking off the air before about hockey and how tight their caps are. There was a time when we had no cap space growth. And nobody could trade. You couldn't incur the penalty of trading your guy away and all the accelerated bonus. But now there's plenty of space. Enough teams have it that they're going to move around in the draft. And the kid who just pulled off the trade from 1 down to 9, it's his first maneuver as a GM. So we'll see trades. I'd say my guess will be 5.
All right. So we put an over-under at either 4.5 or 5.5 then.
Yeah.
For first-round trades. If I can, and we got about a minute or so till we take our first break, if I can go back to the Jets for a second, they're now going to be on prime time. They're going to get at least one Monday Night Football game. They're going to be on 1 or 2 Sunday night games. They may even be put on Thanksgiving because they play Dallas on the road this year. I mean, the Jets haven't played in prime time in 12 years. they're going to now play in prime time. Does that make a difference at all? Like to the locker room? I mean, Rodgers is used to it. The rest of the team ain't.
No, a head coach said to me not too long ago, I said, man, don't you miss 1 o'clock games? And his answer was, bad teams play at 1 o'clock. We're not one of them. So the other thing, David, I'm sure you guys covered this, is the crossover for the AFC East is the AFC West.
And the NFC East.
Yeah. So the Giants are playing the Jets. That's going to be a decent-sized game. But they're playing Mahomes. They're playing Herbert. They're playing the Raiders. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, they could be on the max 5 or 6, whatever the number is now.
More with Pat Kirwan coming up on the other side. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. So your Blades are 1-1, I see.
Well, I watched the game last night. They're like schizophrenic. They win 5-0 in the opener in Atlanta and Charleston there, and then they lose last night. I turned it off at 4-0. They pulled the goalie with 5 minutes to play, 4:20 or something like that. So anyway, I'll see him tomorrow night. I wasn't going to say it on the air. That's why I'm leaving early on Saturday. I'm getting out of here.
Pulled that off.
Hey, every draft pick since the start of Sirius Radio, I think I can get out early once. Jimmy Miller last year missed 2 days.
I know.
He got sick, really sick, and he couldn't leave the hotel room. We all thought he had COVID, so please don't come over here. Rick Neuheisel came in and helped me out.
And Rick was very happy to do so.
Oh, yeah. He's a good guy. I've known him a long time. We both like Jimmy Buffett and go to Buffett concerts and all that good nonsense.
Rick does like Rick.
Oh, yeah. I've got a lot of good friends that don't like Rick, and they don't like when I say how much fun I have with Rick. But he belongs to Bel Air. He's brought me there twice. Appreciate that.
He's still living in Arizona?
Yes, Scottsdale. but he's still a member of Bel Air over there at UCLA, and he's still the king of the clubhouse.
The Raiders voice doing the draft with you?
Yes. Jason.
He's a good dude.
Jason?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've done 1,000 shows with Jason. We used to do the matchup show. We did it for like 5 years, every game. It was fun. And I told you how he got there. He won the ESPN contest. He was a student at Syracuse. He entered the ESPN announcer contest and he won the whole thing. And CBS hired him. And I think I did his first 300 shows with him. His mother used to come and watch him. God rest her soul. But I said, Jason, you can't have mommy here all the time. It's not a good look for you.
Did he move to Vegas or does he just commute from the city?
Commutes. Yeah, he lives in Jersey. He's got 2 little ones.
Right.
No, I'm a big fan of Jason. He kind of thinks of me as his uncle or something. He's always asking me, like, family issue things. Pat, what do you think I should do about this? It took him 4 years to find a house. I said, you should be able to find a house in a weekend. Come on.
Speaking of which, you need some fired coaches to call me to buy houses down here, Pat. Let's go. Come on.
There is pressure on me in that area. Well, we're not in the firing cycle.
I know.
We are in the fire the GM cycle, though. Right after this draft, you'll see a couple of guys hit the.
Which makes no sense. All right. Run my draft, then I'm going to get rid of you.
Well, they spent millions of dollars, and the guy's the only one he's the gatekeeper of the info. So usually they want to, and what they really want, this happened to me, so I can tell you firsthand. They don't want you out on the street with another team. They're going to hold you till the draft's over, so you're not telling your arch rival who you're taking. How do you think the New York fan base is going to embrace Rodgers?
If they win,
well,
and if they don't, come on, Pat. A Jets fan, you know them well. They are so thirsty. They don't care about his political views. They don't care. Okay, as a buddy of mine who's a Yankee fan once said, Saddam Hussein could play left field if he had 30 homers and drove in 100 runs.
That's a good example. You know, when Favre was there, until he got hurt, they were playing pretty damn good.
They were the 1 seed in the AFC.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Bonus hour is 40 minutes away. Mark Dominik, former Bucs GM, will join us. Pat Kirwan joins us once again. NFL Radio's moving the chains, and he'll be live in Kansas City Thursday and Friday doing his radio show, and then 5 straight hours of the draft. So, of course, we're asking Pat to talk more here on Miller and Moulton. His weekly appearance brought to us courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, all points in between Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. So what's the deal Tuesday morning before the Thursday night draft? I mean, anything get done over the next 50 plus hours? I mean, what do you do?
Well, you lock the draft board up so the scouts can't see it and take a picture of it and call some friend in the media. That's first thing. Secure that. Some places release the scouts now. Not all of them, but some of them say, okay, you can take off now. Thanks for gathering the information. But this, for me, was the time that we would reconfirm, hey, if our guy's there, would you like to make a deal with us? You've got to get the legwork done on potential trades. And I recall we'd have like 2 meetings on this day and tomorrow, a morning one and an afternoon one. Has anyone got anything? Can we, if we want to move up, can we? And we'd all trade off on who'd you know the best. So I typically got Kansas City and the Raiders, wherever Bruce Allen was, just to get, those were my guys. And we'd figure out if we could do a deal, what would the compensation be? So all that would be done and ready to roll.
How many trades did you have laid out to how many trades actually happen? I mean, how many
That's a good
deals?
question. Yeah, probably 15% actually happened. What never really happens is the late out of nowhere trade. Usually, if we tried to pull that off and call someone we had not prepped with, it'd be hard for them to figure it out, and vice versa. So there might be some trades with players that are really hush hush, because if you don't get the guy you want in the draft, you're not going to be trading the guy, and the last thing you want is that guy in your locker room realizing we tried to trade you yesterday. So I think there's probably 8 players or so that somewhere during the draft are going to get moved for some advance in the draft list. So we all can figure out the names of those guys.
Well, do you think Derrick Henry will get traded, or is the contract and the position he plays just too cumbersome?
Yeah, I think it's the second thing you just said. It's look, we're not in a world of big contract running backs, and good running backs are not getting even negotiated with. All those kids on the tags, the 3 of them. No one's talking to them. Their own club's not talking to them. No one's talking to Saquon Barkley. The kid Jones in Green Bay took a pay cut and said he was happy to take the pay cut. So I think the running back market, it'd be interesting a year from now, maybe even more importantly, 2 years from now, what the franchise tag number for running backs is. I don't recall a franchise tag price ever going down, but there's a potential when you look at the average of the 5 that the running back tag could go down.
That's absolutely crazy. Pat, in the college world, we're in the portal now. Guys are going from place to place. When you talk to scouts and GMs, is it harder for them to evaluate talent now than it was before? Is it the same? Is it just different the way that college players move, the same way that pro players move?
No, I think they all know, they're going to put on the film wherever the guy is. Now, I did hear something funny yesterday. NFL people really like Zay Flowers because he stayed here. Now, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? With the portal, the amount of guys moving around. Now, I will say this. It says something nice about Zay Flowers, that he wanted to stick by his team. So he did. But Tyree Wilson left college and went on to a different school. That's not bothering him. How about Will Levis? He couldn't start at Penn State. He moved on. He's going to get drafted high. So, look, the first thing Dick Steinberg ever said to me when I got hired was, "Come in my office, close the door." I walked in his office. I closed the door, and I said, "Yes, Dick?" And he goes, "You were a good college coach, but you're not in college anymore. This is the entertainment business. We're looking for the best players. Okay? Do you understand?" Yeah. Got it. I'll be back with one, I hope.
Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, CBS's NFL Today Show, joining us once again, courtesy of Pinchers. All right. If I can ask you 2 quick quarterback questions. One, of the top 4, which one falls?
Well, I see 5 because I think you left out Hooker, right?
Yeah, because I don't put him in the top 4. I think Hooker's the guy who's going to get drafted in the 20s.
Yeah, I know guys that think Hooker's the second best quarterback. Who falls? Well, I had a long talk with Phil Simms yesterday. I don't know if you were listening. We talked for, on a radio show, when you talk with a guy for 35 minutes and miss the breaks. Mark, you could appreciate that.
Love it.
Yeah, well, he's as nervous as I am about the Alabama kid lasting. Is he a 2-contract guy? Is he the next Tua? He's not even as big as Tua. So how long does he last would be one question. No, I do think this. I think Levis, maybe because Phil played for Parcells. I think Phil looks at this guy who's kind of a self-promoter, sending pictures out of himself and all that stuff. He could slide. Everyone thinks C.J. Stroud is going to slide. I don't. Richardson, James Brown called me last night. I think James was having a sit-down with Anthony today or late last night or something. But you're taking guys for different reasons. Richardson is not going to be ready to play. You know what Phil Simms said? If you take Richardson, you got to put him on the field right away. He goes, and let him make all the mistakes as a player. for a guy with no experience, 13 starts, he needs to play his way through his mistakes. I thought that was an interesting take by Phil, but I like Hooker more than two of the guys I just mentioned. In fact, I like Hooker maybe the most.
You like Hooker the most. Then give us how you rank these quarterbacks, Pat.
Hooker, C.J. Stroud, then Alabama. I'm trying not to remember his name because I don't think he's going to last that long. He's just too small. And then Richardson, and then Levis. Levis throws too many interceptions for me. I don't care. Sacks and interceptions. Holds the ball too long, and he turns the ball over. And again, maybe it was my time with Parcells that teaches me, don't ever bring a guy to Bill Parcells that turns the ball over.
The only thing I will say about Levis is watch the 2021 tape, not the 2022 tape. New offense coordinator last year, lost 3 linemen, got hurt early in the season. Team wasn't as good. Okay, now you could argue, hey, then he has to lift the team up and all that. But he, much like Will Anderson, quite frankly, Will Anderson's 21 tape's better than his 22 tape. Same with Levis. His 21 tape's good. 22 tape?
Yeah.
Hell no.
Well, let me ask you guys a question. How many of these guys are really first-round talents?
At the quarterback position?
Yeah. Are they being drafted because teams need quarterbacks, or are they really first-round talents? Most of the people I talk to think they're not first-round talents.
Yeah, I would say 2 of the 5 are first-round talents.
Thank you. I'm with you.
And Hooker would have been had he not gotten hurt.
Yeah, and he'll come back. The ACL is not the same old ACL. Those things are different now. And I used to think ACL was end of career. Then I thought it was 2 years. Now I think you'll be back before you know it.
Do you think Houston maybe takes Hooker at 12?
They should. They absolutely should.
Well, when they don't take the quarterback at 2, somebody's going to be there at 12. They got to be tempted, right?
Absolutely. Houston, what are you doing? Okay, so they put Mills on the field. He's not good enough. They're going to be 4 years before they finally know their quarterback thing. Take Hooker now.
Pat Kirwan. He'll be in Kansas City on Thursday and Friday and Saturday, broadcasting the draft on NFL radio. Joined us once again, courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, all points in between Pinchers because you can't fake fresh. Pat, safe travels, all the best. Don't know if we'll talk Friday, but we'll talk soon.
Yes, we will talk Friday.
Okay.
I think we have something to talk about Thursday night. That's who's left.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Wow. Oh, awesome, Trent. Happy birthday to her.
Happy birthday. Well, he's leaving because there's only one direct flight from Kansas City to Southwest Florida. And so if he doesn't make it, he has to stay overnight. That's another hotel night on the company. As it turns out, he'll land right around the Blades game. And Pat's a diehard fan. He will go. But that's not why he's leaving. He's leaving because to save the hotel room. Well, that's a before the season promotion on Wednesday nights. So they're tied in contractually. Thank you, Adam. It's very nice of you to say.
Thanks, Adam.
One of these days, we'll get these things sponsored, or maybe not. Well, in Logic Man, there's other things going on because the draft is on ABC. Like if certain series are extended, where some of these games are going to end up. Same with the hockey. So the NFL draft is kind of getting in the way of the NBA and NHL playoffs here in that sense.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the top of the hour, Mark Dominik, former Bucks general manager, will join us at the start of the bonus hour for those that still take us in on the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel, or for those who listen in the 239. For those listening along the network, we may rebroadcast Mark Dominik tomorrow so you guys can hear it. If we do so, it'll be early in the 7 o'clock hour. So there. Hey, we have not asked either one of us this because we've been talking, well, we just talked football with Pat Kirwan, but we've talked a lot of Jimmy Butler's heroics for the Heat and the Lightning collapse. But Aaron Rodgers with the Jets, how good do you think they are? They better than the Dolphins now?
Well, their defense is better than the Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
Their quarterback is better than the Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much better the rest of the offense is. I mean, Miami's got a very, very strong offense, obviously, with those great receivers. They're really close, David.
Yes, they are. And let's face it, the difference could be who makes the playoffs and who doesn't. Because as we have pointed out, and Pat just pointed out also, the AFC East crossover divisions this year are the AFC West and the NFC East. I mean, that ain't easy. In fact, it's the toughest crossover you could have. So how many wild cards you think are coming out of the AFC East? I mean, it's tough right now to think that 3 playoff teams are coming out of the East.
Let me ask you a question. How close right now do you think the Jets and Dolphins are to the Bills? That's the first. Before we start talking about wild card, how close are they to the Bills?
Well, I think they're both within a game. I think the gap has been significantly narrowed. I think it's down to a game. Where a year ago at this time, the Bills were 3 games clear of whoever was going to finish second in the division. And now I think it's been reduced to a game. I'm not sure the Bills, the Bills added Von Miller last offseason. The Bills are basically, holding on to everybody this offseason. I don't know that they've, made a move in which I now think, boy, the Bills are better. The Bills are arguing basically, we got hurt at the end of the year. Von Miller on Thanksgiving, we'll all know about Damar Hamlin and others, and that basically we're going to line them up, and if they stay healthy, we're the best team in the AFC. Okay. Not sure I believe you.
One of the benefits that the Jets will get is that they're going to get the bottom end of the South and the North, as opposed to what the Bills will get.
Well, the Jets are a last place team. Right.
I know.
Right.
That's why I said the bottom. They're getting Houston.
But I just wanted to make sure everybody realized that they weren't a third place team. Okay. No, they finished last in the East. Patriots were 8-9. Jets were 7-10. And Mark, there's not much difference in the schedules anymore. That could be the difference. I mean, the 2 games that the Jets get that are far more favorable than the 2 games that the Dolphins get. And if the Jets go 1-1 in those games and the Dolphins go 0-2, or the Dolphins go 1-1 and the Jets go 2-0, that could be the difference between who gets in and who stays home. And let's be honest, both the Jets and Dolphins are going to be very dangerous this year. I mean, we can all do the mid to late December and early January talking head shows for the networks right now. Well, I'll tell you, the Jets and Dolphins are struggling to get in the playoffs, but I wouldn't want to play either one of them if they get in, blah, 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 blah.
And since they both will play the Chargers, we can already anticipate, well, this could be a wild card tiebreaker game.
AFC's hard. I mean, I really do think it is a conference where a 6 or 7 seed, I don't know there's going to be much difference between the playoff teams. Maybe one of the 4 division champs is going to be weaker than all the rest. But
in fact, this will be the year that we'll get the predictions of, should the 8th place team in the AFC substitute the 7th place team in the NFC because of the records? Is it time that we relook at how the playoff seeding is done in the National Football League?
Or should the 4 seed really get a home game? They're not deserving of one. But I mean, if you just go by quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, we'll just stop there. Let's just say if we take the teams with the best quarterbacks and put them in the playoffs right now, Allen and Rodgers from the East. Well, you got to go Burrow and Lamar. I mean, until Deshaun Watson looks like Deshaun Watson again, you got to go Burrow and Lamar, right? Now, I happen to think the Steelers are making the playoffs this year, but that's a whole other thing. In the South, well, you got to go Trevor. And then out West, well, obviously Mahomes. And then are we going Herbert or are we going Russ with Sean Payton?
Whichever one you go, you're leaving one out, which means you've left Tua out, which means you've left the other in the West out.
I've left both Pittsburgh and Cleveland out. I mean, teams that all think they're going to be good this year. I mean, hell, Cleveland's paying $46 million guaranteed for their guy. In fact, the contract kicks in now. I do think the Steelers are going to be, in fact, I think the Steelers win double-digit games. They might even win 11. I think the Steelers are going to be good this year. Finish strong, and offensively, they put stuff around that quarterback. He's got 2-3 receivers. He's got Freiermuth. He's got Najee. All right, the line's better. Still not good, but it's better. You know, they won 9 games last year with Watt missing over half the year.
It's going to be a really interesting division.
Yeah.
A really interesting division.
So, I mean, every win in the AFC is going to be precious. I mean, you know, we say a lot of things. I mean, you do 3-4 hours, you say a lot of things, but there's something that we have banged the drum about for 15 plus years on this show. When the schedule maker gives you a win, you got to take it. And in the AFC this year, you cannot lose those games that you're 7, 8, 10-point favorites in.
And they have the 9 home game schedule this year in the AFC. Just how critical that game's going to be for so many teams.
But we thought the Dolphins' schedule was hard last year. We perfectly broke that schedule down, by the way. Start hard. In the middle third, they got to make hay. They went 5-0. And then we said, last 5, 6, oh boy. Well, they damn near lost all of them. Okay, snuck in at the very end. Well, if you thought last year's schedule was challenging, you look at this year's schedule. It's another thing going against the Bills. I mean, they can't win on the road. Can't beat anybody good on the road in the winter. Well, how the hell is the 1 seed going to come out of the East? Right now, you think that 1 or 2 seeds coming out of the East?
Oh, no.
The Jets won 7 games. They just added Aaron Rodgers. The Patriots won 8 games last year. I'll tell you what, I just don't see it from a roster standpoint with the Patriots right now. To me, they look like, honestly, one of the 10 worst teams in the league easily.
I'd bet the under right now, not even knowing what the number is, David.
I'll bet it's 7.5.
And I'll bet the under.
Man, the AFC is going to be hard compared to the NFC.
Right, and then we're still trying to figure out who are the best quarterbacks in the NFC. Different whole world between the two conferences, and it seemingly happened so quickly.
Now, with what we just laid out in the AFC, if you're Houston and you're Indianapolis, well, Indianapolis we know is going to take a quarterback. The owner has said it and demanded it. But if you're Houston, I mean, are you completely wasting your time? Look at what you have to go up against. If you don't take a quarterback, or are you being smart because you're like, I don't know what to tell you. Just don't see one in this draft.
Unbelievable. Because if you pass, then you're saying what, we're 5 years away?
Or in theory, you're just a year away. You'll get them next year. Exactly. Right. Tough to count on.
Then
But you draft the wrong one, you're totally spinning your wheels. Let's face it, Dolph fans feels that way. They're like, I think we got a guy. I really do. When he's healthy, his numbers are terrific and we win games. Can't stay healthy. It's kind of a big deal. I mean, with Tua healthy, man, you take a look at the Dolphins' numbers. They're phenomenal. Phenomenal. But it's a big if. So
yeah, MVP numbers when he played.
So right now, though, you know, Rodgers' track record versus Tua's track record. Jets roster, they'll add a couple guys here. Dolphins roster, they'll add some depth with their second and third round picks. All right. Right now, $20. If I guarantee you one of those teams is going to finish second, one of those teams is going to be third. One will make the playoffs, one will just miss out. Who you betting on?
I'd bet on the Jets because I can't bet on Tua staying healthy, David. There's nothing that he's done that proves to me that he's going to stay healthy. Aaron Rodgers plays every game, pretty much every year of his long career.
You know what we haven't heard from today? Packers fan. I know you've known for a while, but this reality, you know, you're like a Lightning fan right now. You know, Lightning fan is dealing with, you know, the last 10 hours. Like, I mean, what happened to the Lightning last night? Was that like losing Favre and Rodgers? Is that like, oh boy, you mean to tell me we're not going to be amongst the elite anymore? I can't remember when that last happened.
And the Green Bay fan who acted like they wanted this woke up this morning going, it finally happened.
Who's happier, Jets fan or Bears fan?
That's a great question. Maybe the best one you've ever asked of me. Because the Bears fan has nothing to live for.
Yeah, but now, come on, that division's wide open.
It's the Jets fan right now.
Okay.
Because they can win a press conference like nobody's business. This is their time to shine, David.
No doubt. No doubt. You're going to say that presser will be early next week in New York or New Jersey, technically, but, you know. So we bring in Rodgers in first or the draft picks in first? I mean, that'll be the big decision amongst Jets PR next week. Which one we doing first?
Put it this way, Jets fans so excited no matter who they draft Thursday night, they're going to cheer loudly.
Yep.
And the Jets fan has a way of booing every single pick they've ever made. They will not do it Thursday night.
Be curious to see how many green 8 jerseys we see by Thursday and Friday night. How many of those can be sold?
If they can be overnighted, David, they're starting to work now.
So let me get this straight. A Giants team that made the playoffs and the Jets team that just acquired Aaron Rodgers. You think there's going to be some hype around the New York football teams this year? And don't know if either of them are going to be any good. But there's going to be a lot of hype. You're going to see them on national television about 10 times. You haven't had to see New York football teams play on national TV for 10 years. You're going to see them every damn week.
And you're going to see a lot of AFC football in the national time slots.
Are you ever? And in fact, I don't know when we're going to Lambeau Field again.
Boy, that's a great point. And you've been there 5 times a year for seemingly ever. And Jordan Love doesn't fit the bill. Miller and Moulton. Mark Dominik coming up in our bonus hour. Tampa, St. Pete, Lake City, Port Charlotte, and Venice. We thank you so much for listening. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Mark Dominik next.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Well, I will say, Bourbon, LeBron wore 23 in high school, and we all knew he was being taken by the Cavs. So Dominik's going to be at the draft. He's doing the college channel Thursday, Friday.
Okay.
Broadcasting live. We're planning on running this, right? So I won't make any reference to yesterday or anything like that. It'll just be, so we just talked the Rodgers deal. We just mentioned, the trade went down, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, the guy that Clay Travis pointed out yesterday, Richard Deitch, is just really upset that he got.
Yeah. Mike Soltis.
Must have been his guy on the inside there.
I think Berman, they think, is the only employee who had been there longer.
Mark's on hold. We're back in a minute.
Okay. The on-air people don't start getting named, I think, till next week.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Thanks so much for being with us. Thrilled once again to talk with former Bucs general manager, 20 years in the league. Now he talks about the league, Mark Dominik. Follow Mark on Twitter, Mark Dominik NFL, Dominik NFL. He'll be broadcasting the draft live once again. Not only his duties on NFL radio, but he'll be live on the college channel, Sirius XM 84 for 5 hours, Thursday and Friday. Mark, you're going to be on location. You're going to have barbecue. People are going to be putting drinks in front of you. Have you ever done a draft like this?
I've done a couple drafts like this. It started back when we had the draft in Nashville and Margaritaville. It kind of went from there. Had an opportunity to do one in Vegas last year, which was a lot of fun. And then, this is going back home. That's my University of Kansas. And, I know the barbecue in Kansas City well. So this is a win-win for me. Draft being held in KC.
No doubt. I'm curious, Mark, before we get to the nitty-gritty of the draft, when this thing got moved to Thursday, did you anticipate it blowing up like this? Because for the record, we didn't even think it was a good idea they went to Thursday, and now the draft is just another gigantic NFL event.
Yeah, I never thought the draft would get to this event. Now, internally, when you're in the club and even when I just was in the National Football League, start out with Kansas City Chiefs and then get to Tampa Bay, and you're 23, 24, 25 years old, it's a big deal internally because you're like, wow, this is the draft. I can't believe I'm seeing it. But never did I think the draft would grow to the event it's become for so many people. And just, the interest in the draft is so dramatic and so strong that there's so many different social media platforms and just ways for people to look at the draft. I think it's incredible, and it's a great job by the NFL, and it goes to show that the transition between college and pro is not that far, and that people like to see it from both angles. The people that are huge college football fans can't wait to see where their players get drafted. The people that are huge NFL fans can't wait to see who you get. So you get a blend of all these football fans all in one event.
You'll always be linked to the Bucks. They're picking 19th. When we look at their needs and how this draft is supposedly going to fall, they could use an edge rusher. Well, they're all supposed to be gone by then. They could use probably a corner. Well, the top 3 or 4 could be gone by then. They could use a tackle. Top 3 or 4 could be gone by then. Are the Bucks a couple picks away from where they need to be?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, it does really play for their favor. As much as I think that they're obviously going with Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask this year as their quarterbacks, the more quarterbacks that peel off the ball, the better the chance off the board, the better the chance the Miles Murphys, the Deontay Banks could fall, whether they like a Dalton Kincaid, maybe an elite tight end that they try to go back in and get. I think those are the things you're hoping for. There's a chance Nolan Smith might drop. But yeah, I think it comes down to me is how do these quarterbacks peel off the board? And if they do, I think the Bucs are going to be in decent shape. If they don't, I think Tampa's a team that you could likely see try to trade back in the draft.
Mark, what quarterback do you like best?
Oh, I mean, I'm with everybody else. I think, well, I don't know if everybody else, but Bryce Young, to me, I've been on Bryce Young since January. Have not changed my position on Bryce Young. And I know that he's small and not thick and all those things, but, I've had enough time to spend with so many Alabama players, not only this year, but previous years. And just, being able to talk about him and what he brings and his energy and his ability to make plays, not only with his feet, but certainly with his arm. It's why Carolina made the move early on to get to that number 1 pick and to take Bryce Young.
Why will being 5'10" no longer be the issue that it has historically always been?
Well, David, I don't know if it's not going to still be the problem. I still think you talk to people at Arizona, whether it's coaches that have been there or haven't been there, or front office who are there or not there anymore. Kyler Murray's height isn't an issue. Like, it is hard to see over the offensive line. It's a lot of you've got to be able to move the pocket a little bit, let him have a little bit more clearing or throwing lanes. But it's anticipation and timing and knowing where guys are going to be, as much as it's going to be hopefully seeing guys where they're going to be. Being able to read the defense prior to the snap and be able to see and feel the coverage as the snap unfolds in front of you helps you give that confidence of that's where I'm going with the football. And then you got to just have that accuracy touch thing. I think the weight is the bigger concern for me than the height on Bryce Young. I don't love that he's 5'10" and change, but I'm not going to sit there and say, 2 inches, if he was 2 inches taller, I'd feel a lot better about him. I think his heart measures bigger, and I'm taking with that measurement over his height.
Where we don't draft running backs anymore, there's a special one. This Robinson kid looks to be a really special player. How hard would it be to let someone like that go, knowing the talent he possesses in a league that doesn't really value running backs the way it once did?
Yeah, he's a phenomenal player, right? And I think that he's the guy that everybody's been quietly not trying to talk about in the NFL circles, because everybody sees him as one of those elite type of backs because of how great he is catching the ball. And if you're going to get paid in the NFL, as McCaffrey's, the Kamaras, those kind of, Zeke Elliott's when he got paid, you've got to be able to catch the ball the way that Robinson could catch it. And he can do that. But he's so explosive once he gets the ball in his hands, too. So, I think that taking a running back in the first round, and I've done it before, I think that being able to take a running back in the first round is actually a really strong move. It's not because I sit there and say, well, I've got to make sure I want to sign him to my second contract. It's that I've got him for 5 years, plus at least a franchise tag probably, before I've got to really do something. Well, 6 years is an eternity, as you guys know, in the NFL. I mean, an eternity. You go back 6 years, and shoot, I was almost still a Buccaneer. I was still almost a GM. It's a long time. And so you kind of understand that, the amount of production you can give you over that amount of time versus I'm going to take this guard because you can't take a running back and the guard becomes an average guard in the NFL. There's so much value there. I think he's going higher than most people think. A lot of people put him in the 20s. I can't see him stay on the board that long. He's too explosive.
Well, we don't see how he could get past Tampa at 19, but I think what we're wondering is, does he go as high as like Atlanta at 8? And we agree with you, Mark. I mean, with the tag being just $10 million on a running back right now, and it's obviously not going to get much higher because nobody's paying them anymore. I mean, you could argue it's the most affordable position maybe in the league.
I don't think you're wrong. I think it becomes that. And to your point, I think, which is very strong, when as we see these running backs getting cut from their contracts, that tag is going to get lower and lower. It's not going higher and higher. It's actually going to start to come back even maybe a little bit more, or it's going to stay status quo Well, the cap jumps into $20 million next year and another $15 million after that. You're still sitting there going, still $10 million. And so I agree with you. I think that becomes one of the easy building blocks of your football team. When you take that cap or you take the rookie deal and then you even add in, the fifth-year option for a 6 year, you're still at a very affordable rate for a running back, less than what we saw David Montgomery get in free agency. So you got him for 6 years. That's why I don't think he gets to Tampa at 19. I agree with you guys. I think Atlanta's in play. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are very much in play. I think there's a lot of clubs that could be in play that just, makes too much sense to take a player of that ability off the board and put him on your football team.
When you get a kid like Anthony Richardson, who's not started a lot of games, but has a huge upside, you put in the game against Utah and you see greatness. You put in some other games, you see, oh boy, how does that go over in a front office when you're trying to figure out floor to ceiling on a guy like Richardson?
Yeah, I think you've got to be able to put him in an organization where he can't and doesn't play week one. And you can't have the pressure if he's got to play because he's a first-round pick. I mean, I think you've got to give him a little more time than you do with C.J. Stroud, that I think, seen a lot and done a lot. Bryce Young, seen a lot, done a lot, even to the point where, Will Levis is certainly played a lot more snaps and thrown the ball a lot more around the football field. So when you start to think about what they've all done, I think Richardson's got to go to a team where he can almost sit for a year or gets cleanup duty in certain situations where he gets some film and some footage, but not, going to like week 3, it's Blake Bortles and you got to play him because you picked him number 1 overall. You can't put Richardson in that spot. If you do, I think it's going to ruin his career and we may never see what he's going to be. So I think you've got to look at the clubs that have a little bit more flexibility in terms of maybe multiple picks, or, it's easy to sit there and say the Seattle Seahawks, it makes sense to me where Geno Smith can be the quarterback if they like Anthony Richardson. It's interesting that, C.J. Stroud was the one that quote unquote tested, well, not quote unquote, he tested poorly in the S2 testing when I thought that was going to be Richardson more than Stroud having met them. It's very confusing a little bit. And I think that's the fun thing that we're at Tuesday, fellas. And it feels like the certainty of the draft is falling apart faster than it usually comes together. So I think it's going to make for a great first round on Thursday night.
Mark Dominik, he'll be live at the draft in Kansas City, broadcasting on SiriusXM College Channel, 5 hours both Thursday and Friday. Follow Mark on Twitter, Mark Dominik NFL, Mark Dominik NFL. Well, a quarterback who ended up sitting for 3 years, Aaron Rodgers, finally traded to the Jets. Quickly, your thoughts on the trade, but more so, Mark, your thoughts now on just how good are the Jets?
Well, I think it puts the Jets at number 2. I think they passed the Miami Dolphins and certainly feel like they've passed the New England Patriots. I don't think this is going to put them over the top of the Buffalo Bills because I think Buffalo still has a more complete defense. I think the Buffalo Bills have a better skill set around him, whether it's the tight end, the wide receiver room. I think this puts the Jets to me in the postseason. I think that they're a wild card team, but I don't think they're going to take over the AFC East. I like the move for the Jets. I think it's a huge move, and I think it's big for Joe Douglas because he realizes that, you go back into the draft and try to swing again and miss, you're out. So now you've got at least a guy that's hopefully there 1, 2, maybe 3 years if you can get that. And it gives you a chance for what we saw in Tampa where, things weren't going great, but then suddenly Tom Brady comes in and you've built a championship team and Jason Light's done a great job of getting that team together and win a Super Bowl. That's what you want to do. So I think that's what Joe Douglas is doing. Like, let me see if we can do this. And when you have Aaron Rodgers, as you guys know, you have a chance to win every week. You just do. And so now the fun part is, what can we put around him and how do we keep him healthy? And the only surprise I have is why this trade took this long. I always thought the 13th and 15th pick would be a part of it because there's value there between flipping back. But I'm surprised it got to this point where it could have gotten done, a week or two ago, because the picks are in stone and we already know what they all are. But, happy that it's gotten done. It's certainly a big day for the Jets fans, and I think they should be excited.
All right, got about 30 seconds. So what's your go-to? You go brisket, you go ribs. What's your go-to?
Well, I can't say it's burnt ends. There's not a lot of places that can do burnt ends the way you can in Kansas City. So, and I'm a spicy barbecue guy, so it's a win-win for me across the board. I am looking forward to it. I tell you that, David. It's gonna be nice.
I sense like a doggy bag on the plane, Mark. Don't you? Everybody looking around, going, "What's that?"
I'll bring some brisket home, I promise. But I always come home with some type of, like, whether it's Gates or some kind of barbecue sauce. There's going to be something checked on that bag. I promise you that.
Mark, safe travels. Thanks for your time. As always, have a great weekend in Kansas City. Hopefully we talk again.
Thanks for having me on, fellas. Have a great day.
Mark Dominik NFL is how you follow him on Twitter. Dominik with no C. Mark Dominik NFL and NFL Radio. But this Thursday, Friday, he'll be featured on the College Channel, Channel 84.
One of the reasons you can tell he's a pro is at the end of that interview, he said, thanks for the time. He didn't give us the any time, guys, because we're paying attention.
He knows us. He knows our voices. I've actually done some shows with him in the past. I did 2 drafts with him, in fact. So he knows us just well enough to be cordial. But hey, let's not make this a habit.
Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill.
I was trying to load up a story and from the New York Post, and literally the whole thing froze.
That's what I figured, because that happened a couple of weeks ago where.
That's why I try not to do anything during the
Right.
show anymore.
No, I know. Yeah, but John, when's the last Ohio State quarterback to win a Super Bowl? Joe Burrow hasn't won one yet, and he doesn't count. You know, when's the last Gator? When's, we could. Yes, Hops.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
$21 past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when, along with some final thoughts. Coming up in about 20 minutes' time. Listen, we've both thrown our hands up and we study this pretty intently, but fully understanding the NFL salary cap is oof. So here's apparently how this Rodgers deal is going to work. The Packers are writing the bonus check, which is $58 million. And so this creates $43 million in cap space for the Jets. And his cap hit this year is going to be about $16 million. Then his cap hit next year is about 32.5. Now, there are reports that somehow, some way, Rodgers is going to renegotiate his contract. From the Jets, I don't know if I want him to. But they must have agreed to that when they talked to him in California, 6 weeks ago. I mean, this isn't just happening last night. So, anyway, Packers with $40 million in dead cap hit for Rodgers this year. You add in a couple of other guys. I think their dead cap money this year could be around 60. Oof.
There's another quarterback that we haven't talked about in a while, and he's not really worth talking about all that much, but he's in Tampa now. And he made some news yesterday afternoon. And now he's getting a lot of blame. I don't know if you're aware, but Baker Mayfield showed off his Tampa Bay Lightning personalized jersey yesterday at around 3:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah, nobody was giving them any grief when they were up 4-1 mid-third.
No, they weren't. But then they lost.
I understand. That's just lashing out. I mean, because
it's bad luck. It's not lashing out. It's just bad luck is what it is. It's really bad luck for Baker Mayfield. He had nothing to do with it. I know that. You know that. The whole world knows that, David. It's bad luck.
Well, also, the Lightning fan has too much love and loyalty for the people that they want to blame. Blame the defense and blame Vasilevsky.
It's a lot easier to blame Baker Mayfield.
Damn right it is. Hell, don't even know if he's going to be the starter. And besides, even if he is, I don't know how good we're going to be. And after the last 3 years, I don't even know how much I care. Thank goodness for the Rays, huh? Lightning look as if they're going out quickly. The Bucks are a mess. Baseball team's not going to lose a home game. I mean, they might start getting 20, 25,000 people to show up.
Yeah.
10,000 and change last night. Although they did have 22,000 Saturday, Sunday.
Be curious what they do today.
I'm totally with you. And
I'll give them a pass for last night because of the Lightning game.
Also Wednesday, though, because Game 5 Leafs Lightning's not till Thursday. So tonight and tomorrow, come on, Rays fans. You're 20-3. You're 14-0 at home. You're playing the World Series champion Astros. Come on now.
It's like the longest home winning streak to start a season since the 1800s or something crazy like that.
I still love the fact they need to go 15-2 in their next 17 to equal the 84 Tigers.
35-5.
I know. You know what? This Rays start is one of the best things that's happened to the Tigers. People are now fully understanding. God, 35-5. That's really hard. I mean, you're 20-3, and you're like, I don't think they're going to make it. Man, it's good and all, but
right, you have to go 15-2,
right,
to equal that.
Right. I mean, if you go 12-5 in your next 17. You'll be 32-8. People will go, that's pretty good. Pretty good. Not the 84 Tigers, mind you, but it's pretty good. Once again, we play a game above 500 the rest of the way. That's 90.
How many more do you need to get before you put a little X next to your name?
I'm telling you, I think we can do it by Mother's Day. At this rate, I think we can do it by Mother's Day. Just put a little X next to the Rays. Clinch playoffs. You know what? I would do it if I was working for one of the Tampa St. Pete papers. Of course, I think there may only be one left, but you know what I mean. I would. You give me 2-3 more weeks of this, I would just put it's our paper. We say they're in. You refute us. Want to bet? We got $20. Says the Rays will make the playoffs.
It's all right. Now I've got something to put on the Florida Sports Network webpage. They've wanted us to blog stuff. We're going to blog that the Rays have clinched way before that they've clinched.
Especially if they can split the next two with Houston. They win this series 15-1 at home. All right. 21-4, please. It's over. Done. They're in.
David Samson on the show earlier, we asked him about them. He says, I don't find a hole. I don't find a hole on their roster.
They put the ball in play a lot more this year. A lot more. I mean, when Brandon Lau's hitting 7th, the roster right now has got some length to it. There's no question. But, what's making the roster go, though, is, Franco and Arozarena there back-to-back. If one's not getting – Franco had, 4 hits last night? Unreal. Arozarena with –
It wasn't the best thing he did because the catch was better than anything he did at the plate last night.
If you missed it, folks, And if you're of a certain age, remember when Kevin Mitchell was with the Giants and he went into the corner? I think it was an old Busch Stadium in St. Louis, and he overran the play and he's in foul ground and he stops and he reaches back with his bare right hand and catches a ball, like a 300-something foot fly ball. And he just stopped and went, reached back and caught it. Wander Franco is racing from a shortstop position down the left field line. He's in foul territory. He leaps with his left glove hand and can't reach it and realizes it mid-leap. And so he extends his right bare hand and catches the ball on a full run. Just flipped it to the left fielder like, you throw it in. My work here is done.
And you are right. Between he and a Rosarena, it's like, okay, when are they up? Switch over to what's going on. Let's watch these two at bats.
Well, what game was it? Was it Friday or Saturday in which it's tied in the ninth? I think it was Saturday, and ninth or 10th inning, but I thought it was the ninth. And you're the White Sox, and you got a runner on second, one out, and you got Wander Franco at the plate, and you got a Rosarena in the on-deck circle. What do you do? And so they said, well, I guess we'll follow the book. We'll walk Franco. We'll set up the double play. We'll pitch to a Rosarena. Rosarena's like, yeah, I wouldn't pitch to me these days, dude. I'm locked in. Line drive, base hit, winning run scores. And afterwards, the White Sox manager's got to answer to it. And he's like, you want me to pitch to Wander Franco?
And obviously, they're killing the ball. All the home runs last night, 0 home runs. They still score 8 runs.
Against the Astros, who just swept the Braves. And before that, took 2 or 3 from Toronto. So tonight and tomorrow, we'll see how many show up. We gave them a pass last night. A, it's a Monday. B, the Lightning were playing. That's a big deal in those parts. But tonight and tomorrow, no excuses. Over under 18,000 tonight.
Under.
Yeah, you got to go under.
Under. The Lightning hangover. I don't think people are going to want to go out and do anything tonight. I really don't.
Remember, our Rays over under is 14,618.
I might try to have it tonight and take over that number, but under the 18,000. Miller and Moulton. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day when what's on tap. That's how we finish things off. We'll do it next right here on the Florida Sports Network.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
You You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Oh, Ramirez is ripping the cover off the ball, RCB. He's been outstanding. Your Diaz as well.
Remember, I think we were talking off air, Twitch chat room talk about like the NBA and NHL playoffs and started the scheduling problem with the draft. Well, on Wednesday, because I have a feeling Wednesday's an ESPN hockey day, Lakers, Grizzlies, Warriors, Kings get TNT. Knicks, Cavs, Heat, Bucks get NBA TV. So the Heat game's 9:30, which will really be more like 9:45, 9:50. There may be no basketball on Thursday because right now all 3 games that are scheduled are game 6s of the 3 game 5s that are playing tonight, and all home teams are favored tonight. So the first day of the NFL draft, there may be no NBA.
Rangers, Devils get ESPN 2 Thursday night. They are just daring you to bet the LA Kings, who have played this series so tough. They're minus 220 is Edmonton.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes till the top of the hour, 16 until we're out of here." Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Dalton Miller, Pro Football Network, scheduled to join us on Thursday. Seth Everett scheduled to join us tomorrow, along with JP Shadrick, with a little Jags talk. I texted him the other day. I said, how can you handle picking 24th? You've had the number one pick each of the last 2 years. He said, I could get used to this. He goes, now, of course, I'm not going to. I work for the Jags. I'm expecting, the sky to fall at any moment. But, I mean, it's kind of nice.
Yeah, you can actually have a draft party when you're 24th.
Right. And
people can show up late.
Exactly.
They're well before your pick, David.
Hey, how's it going? Who's on the clock? Seattle at 5. Oh, all right. So that's just some of what we got going on tomorrow and Thursday and what have you.
Just a quick bet. 23.5 is where I'm putting the over-under for the Jags 2024 pick.
Ooh. Well, to pick 24th or higher, you have to win a playoff game.
Right.
I would go under. First off, the Jags' history, even though I think the Jags will win the division and get back in the playoffs and therefore host said game, but I mean, we talked about it earlier. AFC is going to be loaded. I mean, there's a chance. First off, they could play the Chargers again in the playoffs for all we know, but I mean, there's a chance that they'll win their division, host a playoff game, and they could be a dog.
They're going to host the New York Jets. And that's going to be your playoff game, too.
Oh, wow. I think they host Lamar and the Ravens.
Okay. I don't think that's a bad choice either.
Actually, I'll tell you what. I want some odds. I think they're going to host the Steelers. How about that? Okay, Steelers will be the 5 seed. Jacksonville the 4. They'll host the Steelers. We'll see just how good the Jags fans really are, because if any fan base can invade a playoff stadium, it's that one.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
We start in 1886 today. Freud opens his practice in Vienna. No word on what he charged. 1901, the Detroit Tigers, playing their first ever baseball game in Detroit, come back from 13-4 in the bottom of the ninth to win. 1950, Chuck Cooper becomes the first African-American to be drafted into the NBA for the Boston Celtics. Big controversy today in the American Bowling Congress in 1952, David. They approved the use of the automatic pin setter.
That was controversial?
I don't have any idea. It was in 1952. I was just trying to get your attention.
You did, because I actually have a bowling note from today.
64, the Leafs three-peat, winning Game 7 over the Red Wings. 74, the NFL moves the goalpost and adopts the sudden death playoff.
For the regular season, that was big, because there were 7 ties in the 73 season. And the NFL said, yeah, we can't have that.
All right, 1976. If you're of a certain age, you remember this and you love this player because of it. Rick Monday rescues the U.S. flag from 2 fans trying to set it on fire.
There are many who consider that his best act of what was a really good long baseball career. I mean, 5 years later, he hits the game-winning home run in the 9th inning of the deciding game to win the pennant for the Dodgers on their way to the World Series. And most Dodger fans think the best thing he ever did was tackle those two protesters and save the flag.
This one's really for David and I. Today in 1978, I believe at 10 p.m., might have been 9 p.m., ABC premieres Vegas. It's bad television right there, kid.
Thank you. Thank you. That one didn't work for me.
No, it was terrible.
Robert Urich, right?
Yeah. Today in 80, Billy Martin was restrained by umpires from attacking a fan as the A's manager. In 85, for a second time, Gretzky scored 7 points in a cup game. 3 goals, 4 assists. Mario said, hold my beer today in 89 when he tied an NHL playoff record with 4 goals in the first period. Matthew Stafford was the first overall pick by the Lions today in 2009. Eric Fisher was the first overall pick by the Kansas City Chiefs today in 2013.
You know, he is not retired, but he didn't play last year. He's still listed out there as a free agent. That's interesting to me. Is he asking for too much money? Because, for goodness sakes, he played on a Super Bowl team his last year in the league. He's still a serviceable lineman.
In 2019, Kyler Murray, first overall pick of the Arizona Cardinals. And it was a year ago that Elon Musk bought Twitter for $44 billion.
All right, let's be honest. We pulled him aside. We said, just us. Would you do it again?
Yeah. Tip money for this guy.
No, come on. That's 44 billion.
That was already a year ago.
Yeah, it's been such an uneventful year, especially on Twitter.
Marconi, Ella Fitzgerald, the great Albert King, and Meadowlark Lemon would have all celebrated birthdays today. Those that are, Al Pacino's 83, Adam Silver 61, Hank Azaria's 59, David's buddy Joe Buck is 54, Tim Duncan is 47, D'Angelo Williams and J.P. Howell are each 40 years old today.
Yeah, poor Joe, because his twin boys' birthdays are tomorrow. So I told him, I'm like, you're like a Christmas Eve, Christmas Day baby. Nobody's going to do anything for your birthday. The boys turn 5 tomorrow. You're lucky you exist.
What else did I miss?
A little this, little that. I don't know if you remember. You were around 13, maybe 14. We're in the height of the Cold War in 83. And this 12, 13-year-old, or maybe she was even younger, she from Maine, Samantha Smith, wrote a letter to the leader of the Soviet Union, and he answered her. And she asked him, are you going to create World War III? And he said, no, I'm not. Okay, but, I appreciate the letter and what have you. And she Yuri Andropov invited her and her family to come visit him in Russia. And they did. Tragically, Andropov was dead within 2 years, and she died like a year later at 13 in a plane crash. But that was big news back in 83.
I don't even remember this.
No, that was a big
not
deal.
even in the least bit.
It's the height of the Cold War, man.
Yeah.
It
was cold.
Some 11, 12-year-old wrote a letter to the leader of the Soviet Union, and he answered him.
Oh, sorry. It wasn't Aaron Rodgers getting traded news.
No, that was bigger. By the way, Truman on this day, this is what I thought you were going with the bowling. Truman inaugurates the bowling alley in the White House on this day in 47.
Nice.
So
didn't have the automatic pin setter yet, though.
Are you sure we didn't have it in the White House?
I'm guessing that was somebody's job.
You think they're paying somebody? What's Tony doing? Well, he's not working tonight. Hell, he's not. I feel like bowling.
And have him make me a sandwich.
Right. That's pretty much it.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
We had a very lucky man for the good. As a man was cleaning up debris from Hurricane Ian on Sanibel, when an alligator lunged out of the water, biting him at his knees. He was able to walk away with just scratches on the knees. Crews were able to remove the two gators from the area. One was 8 foot 11 inches long. The other one was 7 feet. For the bad, we'll go to, I guess Bonita Springs, where at the lovely Hyatt Regency Hotel,
Okay.
Blake Hill got a little runk. And apparently was talking very irrationally and a little almost being physical with his wife when a bartender said, "Enough, you can't act this way." He did what any sane man would do. He turned around, punched the bartender in the mouth, and then threw a chair at him. Security came, got him out of the hotel. When police arrived, he didn't want to slow down there. Now he's been arrested with 3 counts of battery and resisting an officer without violence. For the ugly, we go to the skies, where on an American Airlines flight from New York to Delhi, a passenger urinated on another passenger.
Holy.
It's the 3rd time a passenger has relieved themselves on another person between flights from New York and Delhi since last year. You're not going to seriously,
intentionally, not like it's
completely drunk out of their mind intentionally. Not like I'm going to run up and pee on you, but I can't find the bathroom because I've been overserved to a level that I'm just going to let it fly anywhere.
Can't find the bathroom. It's either the front or the back of the plane or both.
On a flight from New York to Delhi, I'm going to guess both.
Yeah. I'm guessing there's got to be at least 2. Hopefully 4.
And that, David, is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, April the 25th, 2023.
Man, that's wrong. That is just wrong. Also, because you can't change.
Bingo. Now you've got a pee-soaked leg and you got to get through a 15-hour flight.
I was going to say, it's not New York to Dallas. It's New York to Delhi. Man. All right, Lightning. Rays 6:40 tonight. Hosting the Astros. Tampa Bay 14-0 at home. They're minus 178 because they're sending Drew Rasmussen, who's 3-1 with an ERA of 2, to the Hill. Marlins are in Atlanta. They're minus 235. Well, they're plus 235. Braves and Charlie Morton to the Hill against a guy making his first start, got promoted from Jacksonville this morning. He was not on their 40-man roster. Yeah. Marlins promoting a guy off their AAA team who's not on their 40-man. Brian Hoeing is his name. He actually pitched for him late last year. They designated him for assignment in the offseason. He passed through waivers, been pitching pretty well in AAA. Marlins called him up. They need a starter. Hockey, 7 and 9:30 is the ESPN. Islanders, Hurricanes early. Kings, Oilers late. Kings, Oilers been worth staying up for. The TBS game at 8 o'clock. Wild and Stars. That series tied at 2. NBA got a TNT double dip. Hawks and Celtics. Boston 13.5-point favorite to finish that series off in 5. Phoenix, a 12.5-point favorite. No Kawhi again tonight for the Clippers to finish off that series in 5. That's the TNT double dip at 7:30 and 10. The NBA TV game, Mark. Nuggets, 9.5-point favorite to finish off the T-Wolves in 5.
Wonder how many diehards of a certain team have had to find the NBA network for the first time in their lives this week.
Well, If you're a Heat fan and a Knicks fan, you got 2 days to find it because that's where you're playing Thursday night. Or no, tomorrow night. My bad. Tomorrow night. NBA TV, baby. Knicks early, Heat late.
That's a tough one for you and I. That thing's going to be starting about 9:45.
Exactly. That game won't end until after midnight. Miller and Moulton. Join us tomorrow. Seth Everett, JP Shadrick on the show. Thanks so much for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if you